all week long, the Chevrolet teams have been at the top of the board. Now, I think a lot of that has to do with the driver lineup. I mean, that Team Penske lineup with Power, Pagenaud, Castroneves, and Montoya, I don't care if they were driving, Pintos out there. They're going to be fast. But I think the Honda camp is pretty encouraged, especially what we've seen from Takuma Sato, who's been right there in a lot of the practice sessions, and as you mentioned, had a really good qualifying session yesterday as well, starting 5th. So I think everyone's encouraged. Got a chance to take a stroll through the paddock this morning, Paul. Blown away with how many race fans I've seen, and IndyCar fans as well. Lots of shirts and hats, Will Power fans, Helio Castroneves fans, everyone out enjoying this beautiful sunshine here in Florida already. So the fans are going to be filing into the stands, and I think we're excited. We're going to have a good race today.
And then, of course, to that, you add the ambiance of St. Petersburg. We are at an airport. It's a general aviation field, and we run on city streets as well in this temporary street circuit. But it is right on the edge of the water and a very high-end marina. There are some magnificent ships in there. We watch the sailboats go back and forth on Tampa Bay, which is not 200 meters from where we sit right now. It brings the whole thing together. And downtown St. Pete, I know, Mark, that you've tested a number of the restaurants already, as we all have. It's nothing special. We've been all over the place. It is a good city, a wonderful city to visit, good entertainment, great food.
Yeah, here on the grounds, you mentioned, of course, the marina with the high-end watercraft, and then, of course, the Mahaffey Theater, among those scheduled to appear here in the days and weeks to come, comedian Jerry Seinfeld. So certainly a place that hosts A-listers, if you will. And then it's just a couple of years old. We saw it spring up before our very eyes, is the Salvador Dali Museum. Yeah. And it has quickly become one of the finest, certainly in America, and is gaining prominence and recognition from around the world. This has become a marquee event for the Verizon IndyCar Series, Paul. It's a great getaway for those of us that are tired of the cold and the snow. And as we mentioned, some 216 days since we last saw the Verizon IndyCar Series. And while certainly we enjoy the setting and this warm-up session, we're more than anxious to hear the command to start engines and go racing.
Well, they still have some sweepers out on the track making the surface perfect. While we have the time, let me run down the way they have qualified the 12 rows of 2 for the run, which begins at 3 o'clock Eastern Time this afternoon. In the back row, it will be Francesco Dracone, a rookie, last raced in the series in 2010, and Carlos Huertas, who had that stunning victory at Houston a year ago. In the 11th row, Gabby Chavez, the Indy Lights champion, and Jack Hawksworth, who has moved over from Herta Autosports, is now driving for A.J. Foyt. The 10th row is James Jakes, back after a year off, and Luca Felipe. The 9th row, Sage Karam, and Stefano Coletti, 2 guys vying for the rookie honors in the season. The 8th row, James Hinchcliffe. He won here in 2013. And Graham Rahal, who won here in 2008. In the 7th row, it's Carlos Munoz and Charlie Kimball, who won at Mid-Ohio back in 13. The 6th row, Marco Andretti. He has 2 wins in his career in the IndyCars, but none since 2011. Alongside will be Simona Di Silvestro, who is back from her venture last year in Formula One and seems to be very happy that she is back with the IndyCars. The 5th row is Josef Newgarden. 51 starts in his career, but has yet to score his win. And then, of course, Scott Dixon in the 5th row. 3-time series champion, but no wins here at St. Petersburg. The 4th row is Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's everything. The Indy 500 champion. He's series champion in 2012 and definitely one of the cars to keep an eye on. Tony Kanaan will be alongside in the 4th row. This will be his 234th consecutive start. He started that streak back in 2001. The 3rd row is Sebastian Bourdais, who had the track record here until yesterday when Will Power broke it. Takuma Sato, who sat on the pole here last year. The 2nd row, Juan Montoya, and this starts the Penske juggernaut. Montoya, his 2nd start here, because all of his time both in NASCAR and F1. And Helio Castroneves, who has 3 wins on the board here at St. Petersburg. In the 1st row, the new Penske driver, Simon Pagenaud, 4 career wins. None of them have come on the streets of St. Petersburg. And then, of course, there's Will Power. 5 poles at this track, 2 wins. He is the defending race champion, and he is the defending champion of the Verizon IndyCar Series. That's the 24 that will roll off at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and in just a few minutes when they have the track right, they will also be the guys to practice and find out even more about these new aero kits. Let's talk those for just a second, Mark Janes. The aero kits really only have been around about 17, 18 days. They came in, the teams immediately had to assemble them and immediately head off for a mandatory test down at Barber in Birmingham. And they've had very little time on it. There will be another aero kit, which will be for the super speedway. But what's your reaction? You know, one thing is we know it makes the 2 different cars, the Chevrolets and the Hondas, distinctly different.
Yeah, and I think that that was one of the stated goals. But I think all of this was done with an eye toward making sure that certainly the road and street course package stays as competitive as it has become over the past couple of years. And I think in terms of times and speeds and qualifying, we can see that mission has been accomplished as well. I know that because of the lack of readiness for additional parts, it did have a bit of an impact, if you will, Paul, on the mindset in terms of approaching practice, because if you think back to Friday, we had a clean green session in the morning, and then the afternoon rolled around, and we had gotten some weather, and the track was wet. It had some puddles on it. And a lot of teams, we heard Graham Rahal, for one, say, listen, not a lot to be gained by us going out right now, so I think we're just going to take a wait-and-see approach. Hopefully it'll dry up. We can get out on the racetrack. And it's not as though they didn't want the data of being in the wets. They didn't want to risk putting it in the tire barrier or the wall somewhere and having to try to replace wing elements that, quite frankly, were in very, very short supply.
We have a number of announcements of our own here on the radio network. It's been a good year for the teams. They're making their announcements, different cars, different drivers, different sponsors. We can proudly announce that now you are hearing this broadcast from the Firestone studio. Firestone got on board, and we do appreciate that.
If there's one thing Firestone's learned over its 100 years in racing, it's that if you don't keep moving forward, you're going to get left behind. So even though Firestone has more Indy 500 wins than any other tire on the planet, we're always more concerned with what we've done for you lately. That's why we're constantly trying to make our tires stronger, last longer, and handle better than ever. And we bring that same commitment to every tire we make, whether it's for the racetrack or for the open road. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Back at St. Petersburg, I'm Paul Page. Nick Yeoman and Mark James are alongside, and we are anticipating the start of the final practice session for the Verizon IndyCars, getting ready for this afternoon's Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And this track, 1.8 miles around, 13 turns. Mark James, you have, as you always seem to do, find a really good position on these road courses. You not only are looking at a great racetrack, you got other things to look at.
Doug Allen of the Montrose Safety Crew lovingly refers to me as the magnet, because I always seem to be in the spot where trouble occurs on the race course, like, turn 3 at Toronto and then here in turn 10. Matter of fact, when we see one another for the first time at a race weekend, so where are you this weekend? He hopes to not have to be assigned anywhere where I am, but it's obviously just teasing back and forth between the two of us, and all of those guys do great work. But yeah, right there, as with the aforementioned Dolly Museum and Mahaffey Theater, our position is right above Dan Weldon Way, the intersection there at turn number 10, and we're right up amongst the palm trees overlooking the harbor and the yachts and all of those hardy race fans. And there's a lawn area that's between the Mahaffey Theater and the Dolly Museum, and Honda and some other corporate sponsors have some interactive displays there. But that hillside, if you will, becomes covered with humanity as the day progresses, and it's a pretty neat vantage point, because they usually tighten up, Paul, right at the apex of that turn into turn 10, and then try to gain a bit of an advantage before they go through the switch back through 11 and 12. But I've had the fortune of being out there for a number of years now, and just aesthetically, one of the most enjoyable vantage points of any that we enjoy throughout the course of the season.
Well, the green flag should come out for this session in just a few seconds. Nick Yeoman, we're being on an airport here. They're using the straightaway as a runway, as are the pits, which means you've got plenty of room in the pit area as the cars roll out. Plenty of room for you to work as well as the crews.
Yeah, this is one of the easier pit lanes I think that we have because there is so much space at these teams' disposal to set up the pit boxes. IndyCar gives them plenty of room. The car's rolling out of pit lane as we speak, heading onto the racetrack to start this warm-up session. I'm always interested, Paul, the types of transition changes, especially down there into Turn 1. When they take that hard right-hand turn off the airport, it's part of the track where they've really got to get hard on the brakes to try to slow these cars down and make setup for that S through 2 and 3. It's an interesting part of the racetrack, but yeah, as far as pit lane, Mark said he's the magnet for action. I hope to not see too much action down there on pit lane. A lot of opportunities for these teams to be pitting these cars the first time. Knock the rust off for some of these tire changers that haven't had a chance to do it when bullets, so to speak, are flying when the race starts.
There's a great point because this is a team sport. It's not just that guy behind the wheel. It's everybody in the pits, and they have to step in and out of the right place at the exact right second. And not having had that practice, so many of them will practice their pit stops on a daily basis back in their garages, most of them located in Indianapolis, Indiana. Vast array of shops there. In fact, even A.J. Foyt has finally moved his shop up to Speedway, Indiana. But this becomes a very important moment. Will Power right now just finished one lap, came in, and immediately that Penske team falls on the car and does a practice stop.
Yeah, we see that on most practice sessions or warm-up sessions. It's usually one installation lap to let these cars get out there, get some heat in the tires and the engines, make sure everything's buttoned up. And then, yeah, as you said, they bring them right back to pit lane. The crew members set up over the wall, and it's a simulated pit stop to try to get some warmth in those legs and joints for those guys as well. So they have an important job. I mean, Paul, how many races have we seen over the years that really can be decided by a bad pit stop? Ask Josef Newgarden. His team threw away a win a year ago at Mid-Ohio. You see it every year, and boy, you'd hate for it to come up here in this first race of the season here in St. Pete.
Yeah, it is not a cliche. We have seen it. Seeing Josef Newgarden, he looked a little anxious coming into the pits a few moments ago and bumped the car just ahead of him. Wonder what that was about. And we've told you that Turn 4, if you've been listening to our other coverage here this weekend, Turn 4 has been a bit of a problem, and it is once again as car 8 takes a quick spin, but they say that there is debris on the track as well, and so they're going to go to the red flag, and that is over in Turn 2.
Yeah, and it looks like Sage Karam just locked them up trying to get into Turn 4. I'm not sure if Mark, that's where the debris was. Getting a good look at the front of Josef Newgarden's car. Yeah, Paul, I mean, they all came onto pit lane. Everyone wanted to do those installation laps, and they just got bottlenecked. And Josef Newgarden ran into the back of somebody, and it looked like Charlie Kimball had to avoid the rest of the pack as well.
Well, and here's where we will come into an entirely different discussion. How many parts are there? How many changes can you make on a race car? The 67 car of Josef Newgarden just came into the pits, Chevrolet powered. They have kind of uprights with a little platform wing on them, and one of them is not on the left side of that front array. So now what do? Especially as you go around, maybe you can find a part, but they're building them as fast as they can. These guys have a tendency to be able to wreck them faster than they can build them.
Look at all the pieces on that wing. My goodness, that's quite a little jigsaw puzzle the folks from Chevrolet have assembled there, along with the folks from Honda. And, of course, we spent a fair amount of time over the weekend discussing the research and development phase with representatives from Honda and Chevy, provided us with some fascinating insight. And so now the question becomes, as we watch them bolt on the new one, Paul, which the changes is quick and as uneventful as it was with the previous front wing configuration, but now can that other one be repaired and be used as a backup on pit road?
Well, it depends on the number of parts that are available.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Well, the advantage to that team is that newly rebranded CFH Racing, as he does have a teammate.
Sure.
Ed Carpenter's getting a chance to look over that broken nose piece now, probably trying to figure out if it can be repaired. So they do have a spare wing, but now you're thinking about maybe that whole team has just one for the two cars, because from what I've heard, a lot of these teams just brought one spare wing wing down here to St. Pete. Of course, there has been a bit of a parts shortage with everything trying to be rushed.
They brought everything.
Yeah, they brought everything they have. So I would assume that the folks from Dallara and certainly that CFH Racing, they're going to pour over that wing and try to get it repaired so they can have that as their spare when we go green later today.
Well, talking with several of the teams and crews about that over this weekend, the one thing that they emphasize is what we always see and hear in racing, and that is, hey, if another team needs something, we're going to help them out. So that spirit of camaraderie definitely is still alive and well in the Verizon Indy cars.
Looks like some rear wing adjustments to the car of Simona Di Silvestro that sits on pit road as we speak. Andretti Autosport crew pouring over that car.
Yeah, that's not just it looks like a complete rear wing change.
Yeah.
That might have been the car that Joseph Newgarden got into the back of.
It looked like it, yeah.
Yeah, not a good start this morning for Simona either.
And this is why some in the paddock area will quietly say that they're not big fans of this final morning warm-up. They understand the risk involved, and they certainly don't want to put their teams in a position of having to make drastic repairs to a race car before they go racing later today.
One of the interesting things, too, is during the qualifying session was the first chance that any of the teams had an opportunity with the new aero kits to work with the red Firestone Firehawks. Everything had been done on the blacks, theoretically the slower tire, but only by a minimal difference. But that was the first time they got on the reds, and that seemed to work pretty well.
Well, and we had speculated that perhaps there would have been some changes to the compound because of the drastic altering of the air force, the downforce, we should say, and the aero packages to the aero kits on these cars. But the folks from Firestone telling us over the weekend that the compound that they're using here this weekend identical to the one that they employed here in 2014.
The Penske cars, at least three of them, are down toward the pit exit. The first one was Will Power. He's right at the pit exit, and right behind him is Helio Castroneves and then Montoya. When they dropped the green flag, there was no waiting for Castroneves. He dropped the hammer, came out and around Power, and took the lead of the cars coming onto the track. He wanted to clear racetrack in front of him.
And you got to assume Helio was told what we saw on pit lane of all the jostling and bumping that we saw. Hey, go ahead and get out there and get on the racetrack as fast as you can. But Mark talked about those tires, and here's something that we might want to watch today, Paul. We heard Graham Rahal after qualifying yesterday, and you saw how visibly upset he was. The red tires, they're faster. We set track records yesterday, but I'm not sure how long those red tires are going to last. And of course, every team is mandated. You have to run at least 2 green flag laps on a set of red tires during the race. So whether you start on them, whether you go to them in a middle stint or your final stint, I think there's going to be some conservation going to have to be done with those red tires today.
Will Power may already be thinking ahead to the race itself, because he just turned in very early into turn 1, like you might be required to do from the pole position on a start. So everybody's thinking race time right now. The 22 car of Simon Pagenaud is also on the course. That is now the 4th car in the Penske stable, but it is a Penske truck rental car, and it is white and yellow. Of course, the black and white of the number 1 car of Will Power and the number 3 car of Helio Castroneves, and this year Montoya pretty much continues that red and white livery that we saw last year.
Yeah, I think I saw we're expecting to see Pagenaud in that familiar bright yellow scheme at least 5 times this year. You're going to see the Verizon sponsorship bounce around. Team Penske actually announced earlier this week their deal with Hitachi had been signed and sealed up for another couple of years. And we're going to see Hitachi, which is on Helio Castroneves' car, on a few more of those Penske cars as well. So they'll be sharing those sponsorships, and the looks of those cars will change. But always good to see that bright yellow Penske truck rental scheme.
Yeah, you as well as all of us are slowly trying to learn the liveries in the new cars, the paint jobs. And it seems to be every year there's a color that predominates. This year it seems to be everybody decided black was a good color. Not everybody, but a good portion of them. And with the new aero kits, the number is really down on the attenuator behind the rear wheel, and it's a little harder to pick up. So looking at the combination of the race car color and the helmet is going to make a very important distinction this year for all of us as we learn the cars.
We really like Scott Dixon and Target Chip Ganassi.
That's
the only one we don't have to worry about week in and week out. Yeah.
So now we have some times in this practice session as we are back to green flag. We were down for 3 minutes and 42 seconds to the red, and there's just over 20 minutes to go thus far. Castro Neves on his fifth lap came out with a 1:02.75. He is followed by Bourdais, Rahal, Kanaan, Dixon, Montoya. Chavez, one of our rookies, is up there in seventh, followed by another rookie, Dracona. He is eighth. The rookies are all together. Look at that, Mark. Sage Karam, he's sitting right there. He was in ninth. He just got eclipsed as Felipe started moving up the board. And then Draconi right behind him is currently running in 12th. That's a good crop of rookies we have.
Yep, no question. Each and every year we seem to have a pretty impressive crop, and it's nice to see, Nick, a lot of names continue to fill up the leaderboard that you and I have had the opportunity to cover the past couple of years, over the past 4 or 5 years, in fact, in Indy Lights.
Yeah, getting an opportunity right now to watch Gabby Chavez, our reigning Indy Lights champion, try to work around another one of those rookies, as Paul mentioned, Francesco Draconi. So it's really good to see a lot of these rookies. Sage Karam, our 2013 Indy Lights champion, he's getting a chance to run here for such a great team at Chip Ganassi. And, great to see so many of these Indy Lights drivers get a chance to move up. And Mark, we're going to go Indy Lights racing for a second time later today.
That's right. See if anyone has anything for Ed Jones and Carlin Racing after their dominance yesterday, as we see Chavez setting up to make the move in turn number one. Nick, we were talking about it on Friday with Gabby Chavez. Not saying that it always transfers. We've seen it before. But if a resume is worth anything, Gabby Chavez made 26 starts in the Indy Lights Series. 21 times he finished on the podium in 26 starts. Going back to Pro Mazda, in 17 starts he finished on the podium 10 times. The guy knows the fast way around most racetracks.
He's unbelievably consistent, and so many times over the last few years he never beat himself. And Paul, we've seen with that 98 team, Brian Hurt Autosport, I mean, they were in a bit of a tough situation last year where they were tearing up race cars. I think putting Gabby Chavez in a car, really a smart move, because I think he's going to do a good job taking care of equipment.
Sebastian Bourdais, the previous track record holder, just went number one. To do that, he went around Tony Kanaan, who had the number one position for a moment. Right now, it's Bourdais, Kanaan, Rahal, Montoya, and Hawksworth. Those are your top five. They are all in the 102 bracket. And we get down 102 all the way to 12th position, actually 13th now, and then Pagano is the first in the 103 bracket. Mark James, you keep such careful track of the feeder series, especially the Indy Lights. The car this year that they're using is brand new design and development, but it's also giving them some things like paddle shifting and stuff they haven't seen before. And you wonder with Chavez how much of a learning experience getting out of that as the champion and now getting into the full-size IndyCar. I mean, that's got to be a climb.
Yeah, well, I know everyone who I think is in the series this year, as we see the number 5 machine in the runoff area, that's James Hinchcliffe. But I think everyone who is driving this new configuration will find the transition perhaps to be a bit smoother. But, Paul, let's face it, as we mentioned, it wasn't a problem for Jack Hawksworth. It wasn't a problem for Joseph Newgarden and James Hinchcliffe. And your point is very well made, though. While certainly the older configuration did a nice job of preparing these drivers, this new one will do even better. So much so, Paul, that in the past some guys felt confident with 1 year in Indy Lights, and that was it. Jack Harvey told Nick Yeoman and I last year at Milwaukee, this new chassis and engine combination and new engineering setup with Indy Lights changed his line of thinking and made a second year in Indy Lights make sense for Jack Harvey.
We just saw what the problem was for James Hinchcliffe. He was just going into turn one, got in way too hot, lit the tires up, and just ran into the runoff area, turned around, and got going once again.
Yeah, watching Charlie Kimball try to work around Carlos Munoz. Spoke with Charlie after qualifying yesterday. It's about as upset as I think I've ever seen Charlie Kimball, and he's a pretty upbeat guy. Now he's pulling to the side and trying to get himself a little bit of free racing room. But I think he feels that driving for Chip Ganassi, his results have to improve, and he certainly has to be contending for wins week in and week out. He's going to be starting in the 7th row this weekend. It looks like Sebastian Bourdais. Yeah, he'll do a quick spin around there in turn 4. So just about everybody, Paul, that's what this warm-up session is for. Test the limits of the racetrack and make sure you're comfortable.
Bourdais, Kanaan, Pagano now third. Gabby Chavez, we were just talking about him. If there are things to figure out on that car, sounds like he's got some of it figured. He is now 4th quick, followed by Ray Hall, Montoya, Sato, Hawksworth, Castroneves, and Kimball. That's your top 10.
Nick, I don't want to write your questions for you, but boy, I'd sure like for you to chat up a couple of these guys in the pre-race for the Verizon IndyCar Series and say, okay, what is it with 4 and 10, guys? I mean, is it really that difficult? Because that is almost exclusively where we have seen cars into the runoff area all weekend long.
It is amazing, though. I mean, we see it during the Scott Dixon's the guy that it seems like every weekend he will test the boundaries of every corner of the racetrack. But, Paul, when we go green, some of these guys, it is incredible for 2.5 hours, can just nail it lap after lap, corner after corner without making a mistake. But certainly they push awfully hard in these warm-up sessions.
You bring up a name there, and I'd like to expand upon him just a little bit. Paul, of course, we have the allure of a potential 4-time winner at the 500 and Elio Castroneves. Of course, we can look at Elio and say, will this be the year that he wins his much elusive championship? But look at Scott Dixon. Almost every time he takes the green flag pole, he's going to start to rewrite the record books and continue his ascension. And I think because of his somewhat quiet, steely, icy demeanor, sadly, it won't be until that day, and I don't think it's anytime soon that he steps away.
It's not close,
that we realize how fortunate we were to have the opportunity to watch this guy. I mean, a title in 13:08 and 03, an Indy 500 win, 238 starts. He's led over 4,300 laps in his career, Paul. 165 top 10s, 23 poles, and as we said, 35 wins. Simply put, one of the greatest of all time.
Another piece of good news for us here on the radio network. We mentioned that we are now officially the Firestone studio. We are also now the Advance Auto Parts radio network. So again, a special thanks to both Firestone and Advance Auto Parts for coming on board with us and helping make this broadcast better and better every year. It seems like every time I look around at my teammates here, I think, this is absolutely the best. They've just done the best race ever, and then they go do another one. It's better yet. Thanks for being part of it, guys. Thanks to Advance Auto Parts for making the whole thing work.
Well, Paul, for those maybe watching on IndyCar.com with the live streaming, you're seeing it on board with Will Power. Just saw for about the 3rd or 4th lap, and I think you noticed it. You pointed it out earlier. He took that really shallow line into turn 1, locks up the brakes, and he's not catching the driver. I think it's Luca Filippi ahead of him, so not entirely sure what Will's trying to accomplish. But, yeah, an odd line, odd entrance into turn number 1 the last few laps.
Well, as I think we all know, in practice, that's your chance to work on a single corner or a couple of corners, not necessarily go for the full-out lap speed. I want to see how I get through 4 and 10, why they have been problems for others. We pay pretty close attention to all that kind of thing.
Boy, the level of confidence that young man must possess right now. I mean, 3 years in a row, essentially throwing away a shot at the championship and finally getting that monkey off his back. And, Nick, I think you can go back to actually a year before that. We mentioned it last year. I mean, he didn't have a chance to win that championship in 2013, but he won the race at Fontana. And I think kind of that's where the momentum started that vaulted him through 2014 to finally claim that championship.
Well, he had such a miserable start to that 2013 season, and I remember it was somewhere in the middle of the season, maybe Milwaukee or Iowa, where we were talking to him, and he just kind of threw his hands up and said, I'm not worried about points. It's probably too big of a hole to climb out of. I'm just going to go to try to win races. And he did that. And then you mentioned that win at Fontana was just so big. He won at Texas the previous year. I mean, he won at Milwaukee a year ago. So Will Power, this guy that we just expect to be so good on the road and street courses, Paul, he's turned into such a well-rounded driver. He's got that championship. And now, and he said it, that one box left on his resume that he's got to check off is the Indianapolis 500. He's been awfully good here the last couple years at IMS. Not in contention to win, but very consistent taking care of that race car. It's going to be fun to see what Will Power brings to the table in a minute.
I think you both of you hit it on it pretty hard. He gets that win at Fontana at the end of the season, comes here and scores a victory, and that the Fontana win after, like you said, it was like halfway, maybe 2/3 of the season before he was able to really do anything. He wins here, and then he just keeps his stride going and goes on to a championship in the series. Now you go walk through the paddock back into the Penske area, and normally you would not see Will Power out. He's back studying the course, trying to get his brain all set up for racing. But now he's out there. He's talking to the fans. it really has done something for him. He must feel a great deal better about himself, and that kind of confidence, well, it gets pretty hard to beat.
All indications is that he has. I mean, it really was getting that monkey off his back, and that he has been very relaxed during the offseason. There's two ways of looking at that. If he's a relaxed race car driver, you would think, okay, maybe there's the potential that you can let mistakes creep in. There's also the potential that we just open the floodgates. And now that he won that first championship, boy, how many more can he clean up, especially with how good Team Penske has been historically in open-wheel racing. So, yeah, it was a great story to finally see Will close the deal after letting so many championships slip away, Paul. And certainly it looks like those mistakes aren't creeping in yet. He's been dominant this weekend.
Traditionally, series champions have not had banner years in a quest to defend those championships. And I don't want to say they're jinxed in that regard. I think more so it speaks to the competitive depth of the field, and that's certainly the case this year. So I'm sure Will Power would like to buck that trend. And if we could revisit your point, Nick, about his desire to win the Indy 500, fortunately for him, he's driving for a guy that has had a bit of success there at 16th and Georgia.
Certainly.
You know, it's also interesting here, the first race of the season, and we see it throughout the year. We probably should mention it more, is some of the greats that are here just to keep track of what's going on. Gilles de Ferran, kart champion, you know, he was here. He's walking up and down the pits. He's managing drivers now, so he's constantly present. Walked into the pits and saw Roberto Moreno. You remember the moniker of Super Sub? Because everywhere they stuck him in a car to replace somebody, he just disappeared. He was so quick. He's here looking around. I think it'd be cool to see him back at the Indy 500. Stefan Johansson is here. I mean, you can't tell them anymore because they're in street clothes, but you take a second look, oh my goodness, that's the Farron.
I got a chance to walk the paddock. I saw Buddy Rice this morning, former Indy 500 winner, so he's here this weekend as well. So always fun, I'm sure, for you to get back and see so many old friends because, once you're a part of this sport, you usually don't like to venture too far away.
Eliseo Salazar is here this weekend, Paul. He's managing the fortunes of some drivers at F2000 and Pro Mazda. Of course, he was a winner, drove for A.J. Foyt. Part of one of the most unique news conferences, Paul, that I had ever been a part of with A.J. Foyt, Eliseo Salazar, and the clothier Fubu were all together at Charlotte Motor Speedway for an IndyCar press conference. That was quite an eclectic mix of people from the racing and clothing world to come together for some. And Eliseo had a great win at Las Vegas and was certainly a guy who knew how to mash the gas, no question. And he looks like that he can jump right back into the cockpit today.
That's the scary thing, is they all do. I mean, if Roberto Moreno is an example, he hasn't changed one bit. He's thin, he's prepped, he's in shape. I'm sure that if one of these cars had an issue with the driver, guy gets maybe a little taste of the flu or something, he'd be right there.
Oh, I'm sure
there's a helmet and uniform for all those guys.
I think there'd be a lot of hands going up in the air of some veteran drivers that would love an opportunity.
This practice session, the final practice, has continued without any real issue. We have about 7 minutes and 17 seconds left to go. And red time so far has been only 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
Graham Rahal just set quick time in this session in the number 15 machine. Sage
Karam's off again.
Out a red flag.
It's like turn 10, actually, too. Boy, Paul,
So he's tested both of them now.
He slid there. He did a good job avoiding that tire barrier, and then he brought that car to a stop, and I think I saw him kind of wave to the officials. I think he's going to need to be turned around and refired on that number 8 machine.
He learned a little something in one of his first rides in this car during the test at Barber. Got into a barrier down there and didn't let go of the steering wheel, which is what they tell the IndyCar driver. They tell everybody, if you know you're going to hit something, let go of that wheel, because when those tires hit it, everything's going to yank. It did. Right wrist broken, so he's driving with a broken right wrist. Doesn't seem to be affecting him at all, except for these occasional runoffs. And like you said, Scott Dixon does that too. You want to see just how far you can go without actually going all the way to the wall.
Yeah, we've got a good over-the-shoulder view of Sage Karam's car right now, looking at that computerized technical marvel that is the steering wheel. That is, I guess, what mission control, if you will, Paul, if we can use that That's NASA term, and it's just unbelievable.
There's no telling what they cost. I think the average is like over $150,000.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive, no question.
But all the electronics is in the steering wheel. There's not a dashboard per se anymore.
No, and then paddle shifting now, all part of that process, and fuel mixtures and weight jackers and all of those things, radio communication, you name it, it's all right there and set up for the most part to the driver's liking.
One of the things on the wheel is a little dial 1 through 8, which is the engine mapping, the different settings that you can give that engine that changes the nature of its performance. Not necessarily always its power, but you say, all right, I really need a little more to get into this corner, so I'm going to number 3, which just happened to be the setting that Sage Karam was running on his car when he ran it off.
About 5 minutes remaining in this session, a 30-minute session. It was a little late getting started, had some track cleanup and whatnot to do. This is the second red flag period of the session. We're now approaching somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 minutes of red time. So some of those teams that needed all 30 minutes, a bit frustrating for them, Paul, because a couple of teams probably had some questions that they needed to get answered, and this idle time certainly prevents them from doing that.
Mark James, the voice of the Indy Lights Series. You've already had your first race of the year. It happened yesterday. Going to have another one here in a few minutes.
Yeah, Ed Jones led from wire to wire, as pole sitters often do in the Indy Lights. His teammates Max Chilton got a rude induction and welcome. He and Felix SERRALLES got together on lap number 2 coming off of turn number 1, and Chilton was dispatched to the hauler to visit with the race director after that event concluded. But Jack Harvey will roll off third today. He finished second. And, of course, Harvey, the series runner-up to Gabby Chavez a year ago, thanks to a tiebreaker that they had to go to in Sonoma. But, Jones and Chilton for Carlin Racing disrupting the dominance of Schmidt, Peterson, Bellardi, and Andretti Autosport. And be interesting to see today, Paul, if that dominance is able to continue. We hope you'll join us for the call this afternoon. The Indy Lights race will be on the air around 12:45 or so. And
might
we'll
push a little, huh?
Yeah, might push that back a little bit. But we'll have Zach Veach and Davey Hamilton in the booth with us as our driver analyst. Today.
Watching those two on that first lap, they were trying at every corner. It's the first lap of the first race.
Yeah.
It's always accredited to the great Rick Mears that to finish first, you must first finish.
Sure.
Probably that's on the trailer wall now somewhere.
Can't win it there, but you can lose it there too. That's another one you'll hear oftentimes.
I liked Elio Castroneves. That sometimes you're the bug and sometimes you're the windshield. It's always been my favorite.
Well, how
for
about
the newer
this?
generation?
We knew what he meant.
In the order now, it's Graham Rahal that goes number 1. Remember, he had a frustrating time during qualifying. Said the track was pretty dirty. He wished it were better. He's come back to prove that he's got the verve. He is number 1. It's Rahal, Montoya, Pagenaud. Charlie Kimball is 4th. Sebastian Bourdais 5th. 6th is Tony Kanaan. Hawksworth is 7th. Castroneves 8th. Takuma Sato is 9th. And Gabby Chavez is 10th. We're counting down now. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in this session. And then lights race, some other activities at the track. 3 o'clock, the Indy cars will line up in their rows of 2. The green flag will fall, and this race season will be underway. This is cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun watching some of the faster cars make their way down across the front straightaway now. We saw Scott Dixon being chased by Juan Montoya, Tony Kanaan, Ryan Hunter-REAY as well on the front straightaway, setting up for turn number 1. Going to be interesting to see strategy-wise, Paul. I mean, certainly the Team Penske cars have been so dominant here this weekend. Who can go off strategy? Who can get out in front of those cars? It's going to be a lot of fun. But you're right, man. To kick off the season here at St. Petersburg, the fans are already filing in. The weather's been wonderful. We're going to see some fireworks for sure.
If you're watching online, that's James Jakes that's given us a nice pass down the front straightaway and into turn 1 here at the track at St. Petersburg. Immediately comes back, turn 2 to the left, eases back to the right. Then he's got a bit of a run as he goes down to 4. It's the technology of these cameras also. They help everybody. They're up on the big screen. We have them available, an array of them available. And it's just amazing to see how good that technology from the day when back in the stock cars they had a giant camera like the one you put on your shoulders bolted into one side. Now these things maybe weigh a pound and a half, and they are tiny. Rahal is still number 1. The session is down in its final minutes now, 50 seconds to go. We'll see what happens in this last minute. Will Graham Rahal stay up there at the top? That'd be pretty cool.
Yep, looking to get back to victory lane. It's been a long time between drinks, if you will, for Graham Rahal. His very first race in the IndyCar Series. He won here on the streets of St. Petersburg. And, Paul, if you remember, he crashed during practice at Homestead, which was the opener that year, and did not compete in that race because they didn't have the equipment for him. They didn't have a backup car. So he made his debut later here at St. Petersburg in the second race of the season and ended up getting to victory lane.
We're now to the final 10 seconds of the morning warm-up, the actual name of this session, the final practice session. And it is still Rahal on top. We'll see as they come now with the checkered flag flying at this moment where they will actually line up. And, of course, once again, it's interesting to see those numbers. But then again, you got a lot of different drivers trying to learn a lot of different things. So in total representation, it may not be something that you can hang your hat on. But I think with Rahal, that's just, I wanted to show everybody I can do it.
Just saw some familiar names jump to the top of the charts, too. Will Power just jumped to third. Sebastian Bourdais, who's had a strong weekend, he just jumped to second. And saw Simona Di Silvestro. She jumped to fourth, just bumped to fifth as Joseph Newgarden jumps into the top five. So Simona having a great weekend, coming back to IndyCar for the first time in 2 years as well, Paul.
So now the cars have acknowledged the checkered flag. They've already started coming into the pit area, and it's still Rahal that sits up there at the top. Let's go down through the complete order for you. Again, perhaps apropos of nothing, but certainly it gives you an idea of something to look forward to this afternoon. Rahal number one, followed by Bourdais, Newgarden, Power, Di Silvestro. That's top five. Then Montoya, Pagenaud, Dixon, Chavez, and Kimball, top 10. 11th is Tony Kanaan, followed by Hawksworth, Castroneves, Sato, and Munoz. That's through 15. Hinchcliffe is 16th, followed by Ryan Hunter-REAY, and then Coletti, one of the rookies this year, and Sage Karam, another rookie. Marco Andretti is down in 20th place. 21st, that's Luca Felipe, followed by James Jakes. Carlos Huertas is 23rd, and Draconi is 24th. That is the way the field looks. The cars have all now answered the checkered flag. They're coming in. Another data session, another download of that information from the onboard computers. A few changes, and then this afternoon at 3 o'clock, it will be the Indy cars once again. But before that, Mark James, you and the gang, are you ready to go? You set to get out on the track and get it done?
Yeah, no question. We're looking forward to Ed Jones and Max Chilton, see if Chilton can rebound from his struggles yesterday, and we'll see if Ed Jones can continue to dominate, or will Jack Harvey try to find an opening going down the straightaway. And, Paul, because of the late start time to this session, you can join us at 12:53 today for complete flag-to-flag coverage of Indy Lights, race number 2 of this doubleheader weekend.
Mark, we look forward to that. Thanks to you. Thanks to Nick Yeoman for spending a little time during this warm-up session. I'm Paul Page for all the gang here. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the Advance Auto Parts Radio Network.
IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis
Side
has
1212.
won his
Program side
fourth
1212.
500-mile race. A.J. Foyt, our winner. The flag will fly now for Tom Stava and then for Al Unser. We will be talking with all of these drivers in just a moment.
And we await A.J. Foyt along with a host of others, including Tony Holman, who is cheering as loudly as the crowd. We've seen what has never been seen before, beginning with a woman driving in the field in the morning, and A.J. finishing 4 up front at Indianapolis.
Check.
Now, A.J. Foyt and the gleaming Gilmore 14 Coyote, the Gilmore Racing Team, home, and he wins again.
And there's the checkered flag for Mark Donahue, winner of the 1972 Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Oh my goodness, we have 7, 8, 10 cars in a pack headed for one Jerry.
Well, you talk about the crowd getting on their feet. They do. So far, so good. They are nose to tail. A little bit of room. There's about an 8-car pack in front of Gary Lee right now.
Yeah, and in that pack, second place and third place. Little Al has gotten around Jack Villeneuve. He's back up to second, and now 2 cars separate second and third. Mr. Excitement is that youngster, that second-generation driver. We're impressed with Jack Villeneuve, but right now he's dropped to third.
And
there's Al Unser Jr. and then Bobby Ray Allshock. Phil Newt goes on the outside. He goes high. You can't go too wide in the turns. They're doing it today.
They sure are coming through 4. Now they go single file. Maybe they got a little scared last time. Who knows? But going through 4 this time, everybody's single. They come toward the main straightaway. Bob Jenkins.
That was just a breathtaking moment.
This is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network. This is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now, perfectly aligned, back on the main straightaway to call the start of the greatest spectacle in racing, the voice of the 500, Paul Page.
Oh, they came off of turn 4 beautifully. They looked for the green flag. The green flag is out. And from the center of the road, James Hinchcliffe pulls away. Howard tried to duck over behind him, but Hinchcliffe is in front.
They must have found something with that car because he was not happy with the balance, not happy with the amount of horsepower he could have during that first run. Marco slides that bright yellow and blue Snapple car into pit lane. The fueler will engage the hose and the 4 tire changers will go to work. Marco has charged to the front. His grandfather won in 1969. A good pit stop for Andretti as he exits pit lane.
HUNTER-REAY slung past on the inside of Ed Carpenter. Marco Andretti in third, then Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves. That's the front 5 in a turn over 3, Marching.
Not sure on restarts that up front is the place to be because of what happens with the slipstream, if you will. Ed Carpenter right there. Marco Andretti, then Scott Dixon, then Elio Castroneves. Front 5 set sail for the north end.
HUNTER-REAY trying to draft. Carpenter going into 1.
Ed Carpenter on the outside. Ryan HUNTER-REAY on the inside. HUNTER-REAY will make the pass again. And Marco Andretti stays in the number 3 spot. He may want number 2.
Guys, well, Power, Ed Carpenter, Marco Andretti. Power beats him out of pit lane. So it's Power, Marco Andretti, Ed Carpenter, followed by J.R. Hildebrand.
And HUNTER-REAY darts in, moves to the outside as they get the white flag. 1 to go, Jerry.
They are side by side. Elio looks to the outside. Elio will have to take the number 2 spot. He's right on the rear wing of Brian HUNTER-REAY.
HUNTER-REAY looking for number 1. Elio Castroneves
Travis looking for win number 4. Ryan HUNTER-REAY, 8 car lengths in front as they move in the backstretch for the final time.
Did Elio make the move? 3 laps too early. Does he have anything at all left in the tank? A couple of turns to go. Ryan HUNTER-REAY leads in Indy.
Turn number 800 is upon us. Less than a car length is the difference. The final turn. HUNTER-REAY to call the finish. The voice of the 500, Paul Page.
And it is Ryan HUNTER-REAY that is going to lead Elio Castroneves across the line. Ryan HUNTER-REAY has his first Indianapolis 500-mile race win. Elio Castroneves will have to wait for another year to get his 4th victory at the Indy 500.
This is IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network. From the Firestone broadcast booth, it's time for the Indy Lights, presented by Cooper Tires on the Advance Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network.
New chassis, new engine, maybe dominance by a new team at race 1 of this doubleheader weekend over the 2015 Indy Lights campaign. Carlin Racing's Ed Jones led from wire to wire for his and the team's first win in this series. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Advanced Auto Parts Radio Network's coverage of the Indy Lights. I'm Mark Janes, and the old adage is, if you're only as good as your last race, it's hard to be better than Ed Jones was yesterday.
You know, Ed, you couldn't ask for much more coming over here for your first Indy Lights race. Get the job done on the pole. You jump out to the lead. You hold off a restart. Congratulations, win number 1.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling, you know. The teams throughout the weekend haven't done anything wrong. The car's been perfect for the race. It was a bit tricky towards the end as the rear tyres went off. I had a massive moment around the back at one stage, and I thought, once I had that, I thought it was over. I thought I was in the wall, but managed to keep hold of it and just keep pushing, quite consistent times throughout the middle of the race. And, yeah, did the job in the end, so we look forward to tomorrow's race.
What about making this car any better? Do you have any ideas already of what you want to do, what you want the car to feel like?
Yeah, of course, there's always things you can improve, but talk about that with the engineers and progress from there.
Great to have you here in America. Congratulations on race win number 1.
Okay, thank you.
And, of course, our Rob Howden chatting it up with the winner yesterday in Victory Lane. Rob joins us again today. And Rob, Ed Jones will roll off P1. His teammate Max Chilton will roll off in P2. For those who may not know, how did we determine the starting lineup for the second half of this doubleheader?
Well, the qualifying session that we had earlier on Saturday gives the first 2 times. The fastest lap these guys turn is what sets the grid for race number 1. Their second fastest lap, either that or the fastest lap in the race will go for race number 2. Only 2 drivers actually going quicker in the race. Matthew Brabham, obviously with an issue early on, came back in, put new tires on. He went out and actually went quicker, so he'll start a little farther up in the grid. Ethan Ringel as well, able to go quicker in the race, so he's able to use that lap time for race number 2.
Our driver analyst back with us today is Zach Veach, who won this race 1 year ago, and try to put us to the mindset of a driver like Ed Jones. Zach, when you win a race, can the next one get here fast enough for you?
Yeah, you know, with Ed Jones, he has had a great start to the season. He, him and Carlin come into this new series, new place, and they started off right with a win. So for Ed Jones, the nice thing about this being a doubleheader weekend when you have a great car is just you want to build off of it. You want to make sure you capitalize off this great weekend that he's having, off this strong race car that he does. So, I think some of the pressure's off because you're here, you're already a race winner. You kind of set the tone. But, hey, once you are the winner of the first race of the season, you got an X on your back for the rest of the year.
Rob Howden, one of the guys that had a good day yesterday, in addition to Jack Harvey, the runner-up, and the winner, Ed Jones. You're standing with him, Spencer Piggott.
Yeah, I got Spencer Piggott here, last year's Pro Mazda champion. A great debut for him, third place yesterday, and obviously some changes made to this Juncos racing car. Are you looking forward to race number 2?
Absolutely, yeah. I can't wait to get going again. I've been working hard. As you said, moved up from Pro Mazda last year. First weekend for the team. Big thanks to the Mazda Scholarship Program for getting me into this championship. It's the car looks great, and we made some changes, and hopefully they're improvements, and we'll see how it goes this afternoon.
Hey, good luck today.
Thanks, Rob.
There he is, folks. Just about 4 minutes away from the start of this race. We're going to let Spencer get himself buckled into that Mazda Speed-sponsored Juncos Racing number 12. P3 yesterday. He will look to aim a little higher here on Sunday.
Yep, we will have the command to start engines at 1 o'clock. Well, in addition to having an outstanding pit crew assembled today, including Rob Howden and Zach Veach joining us in the booth, have a couple of guys with us out on the course today to help describe the action. The guy who has probably one of those spectacular views of any venue that we go to. We'll welcome in Jake Query. Jake?
It's a pleasure here once again in St. Petersburg, Florida, to be, for the 5th year running, as a matter square mouth here in the Northern Trust Bank building on the 12th floor. I stand on the back overlooking Avenue. Now, this is a travel insurance phenomenal job of putting us up every year and having this celebration, but I overlook as they come out of turn number 3 and in turn number 4, a right-handed turn in turn number 4, then a lefty that is turn number 4. Spectacular sun-filled day here in St. Petersburg. We look forward to calling from up here, the Indy Lights, Mark.
Folks, that popping and cracking that you heard not on your end, one of the reasons why we do this early is to find those issues and hopefully get that troubleshooting done, and we'll have that taken care of before the green flag flies, hopefully. A guy who is kind of setting up shop where I will for the Verizon IndyCar Series, I told him it was a spectacular view, and I wasn't pulling your leg, Nick Yeoman.
If you wouldn't mind, Mark, I might just stay out here for the IndyCar race, too. Is that okay? No, I'll get back to the pit lane when we go green flag racing for the Verizon IndyCar Series later today. But, boy, this is a tremendous view and one of the best racing spots on this entire course here in St. Petersburg, Florida. The field will make their way through the kink of 9A past the baseball stadium. Of course, they'll race right past the Mahaffey Theater, which is absolutely gorgeous, past the Dali Museum as well. It's a light braking zone to try to make this tight left-hand corner. There's red and white curbing to the left side. To the right side, well, there's a runoff area, but also a very pesky tire barrier. Yesterday saw many drivers clear that tire barrier, but in the exit, very close to that concrete wall. Mark, there are grandstands to the right, grandstands to the left, and of course, a lot of ships and partygoers here in turn number 10. Let's go back to pit lane and Rob Howden.
Down here on pit lane, as you said here, with Mr. Sam Schmidt. Sam, obviously off to a new season. 4 great race cars, the Dallara IL-15. Carlin Racing looks good out of the box, but your man Jack Harvey challenged pretty good yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an experienced team from Europe. I've been watching them with envy for years and trying to learn from them. They got very experienced drivers, but I think it'll be a battle all season, and so got some good points yesterday, and hopefully as our rookies get more on board, they can start to contribute too.
I was going to say you got a really good cross-section of drivers here this year. Of course, Jack, the rookie, but then you look a little further back to an R.C. Enerson right out of USF 2000. Same goes for Ethan Ringel. They're going to get quicker and quicker as this year goes on.
Absolutely, that's the hopes.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.
Sam Schmidt, folks, looking at his driver right here. We're sitting right in front of Jack Harvey. Remember, he had a great run to second yesterday. Jack wants to win. He wants to win early. He went on a huge streak at the end of last year and came up just short for the championship, and he knows he's up against Carlin Racing here in 2015.
Zach Veach rejoins us now. Zach, despite the issues that Max Chilton had yesterday with Felix Serralles, pretty impressive debut for Carlin Racing, but let's face it, they're not newcomers to motorsports by any stretch.
Well, it's kind of like, if you always know how to ride a bike, you always will, right? So, competing in Europe, it's very high-class teams there as well, just like we have here in the States and in the Indy Lights series. So it's just, I think it's kind of a comfort thing for them. They're coming over here and they're just kind of getting their feet wet and getting used to kind of how we do things here. But no, I mean, they couldn't have started the weekend any better. Both their guys are very, very fast. Max had a little bit of bad luck, maybe a little too aggressive, or just kind of eager to get things started yesterday that resulted in him not being able to finish. But hey, with that, he's going to be hungry. He's going to be ready to go out there and prove that he deserves to be here, and he's just quick.
Rob Howden?
Down here at the very front of the grid here with Jeff Fickling, the man who was actually a big player in Bilardi's championship. Jeff, you've joined the folks here at Carl Racing. How has the transition been? And it must feel nice to be back up front.
Yeah, it's been great. Good group of guys. And, but we've had a lot of work, too. I mean, it's not only the car this year and everything else with the series, but, the team's new to the series and new to the country. And so but it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great challenge, and, so far so good.
I hear a lot about the way these cars are, what they handle, how they affect the rake, how the caster obviously very important, camber very important. What are you guys learning about these cars for us?
Well, they're complex. They're state of the art, and they're quick. I mean, they're a lot quicker, I think, than most people thought they were going to be. And the potential is a lot quicker than that too. So I don't know if Dan's going to have to slow them down here, but it's been pretty cool.
Well, you're obviously not going to give me any input on what you do to the race car either. I appreciate that.
Definitely not, no.
Yeah, Jeff Fickling, folks, very tight-lipped down here, but again, these cars very quick, very pretty, and we're looking forward to another great wheel-to-wheel race here today.
30 seconds away from the command to start engines. Your front row consists of Jones and Max Chilton, Jack Harvey and Scott Hargrove in row 2, Brad row number 3, row 4, Kaiser, Serralles, then C. Anderson and Juan Hida roll off in roll number 5, Anderson, Shelby Black, and then Nathan Ringel rounds out the starting lineup. Now here's the command to start engines.
Welcome. The one and only, doing it again this weekend, Deidre Frank from Peninsula Pipeline. She is here to give the command.
On behalf of everyone at Peninsula Pipeline, drivers, start your Mazda engines.
Ed Jones, Max Chilton will roll off in row number 1. The driver on the inside of row number 2, finished runner-up yesterday. The runner-up a year ago, Jack Harvey, will climb into the cockpit with Jack Harvey and take a ride around this challenging course here at St. Petersburg.
I mean, you pretty much come along the landing strip into what is actually a pretty bumpy braking zone into turn 1. It's quite a long corner. It's almost like 2 apexes, and actually, if you go and look down there, you can see the curb actually stops, and then you get a second curb. So I think having a car that rotates well to be able to get hold of that second curve is always pretty good. Turn 2 is obviously very fast, and the more speed you can carry, the closer you come off for the exit to the wall, which can kind of make it, it makes it exciting. When you come into a very fast turn 3, there's been some accidents there in the past that I've seen. Down a small straight into what is a heavy break turn 4. Again, some new curbs there, or at least same as last year. If you hit them, then it really bounces the car quite high, which then leads a small straight, leads into a very fast, although it's still a slow speed, you're not really using much brake, into quite a fast turn 5 into a into a left-hander. Kinks right into a small break again into turn 7, and that turn 7 and 8 are actually my favourite corners on the track. You're so close to the walls the whole time, and there's definitely in turn 8 there's a certain groove that you have to be, and it's just very difficult, to get the car to work perfectly there, to push the limit and to be close enough to the walls while not losing speed is very hard. Then exit there, you come through a small kink on the left into braking into turn 10. It's such an easy place to brake too late and go wide, so kind of a tricky corner. Then quickly up this small straightaway into a very fast chicane, which for us at the end was flat, but definitely at the start of the weekend wasn't. And when you've got such a change of direction so quickly in high speed, it certainly makes it quite exciting for the car we had yesterday when we had a lot of oversteer. And actually that was where I got past the driver last year, so hopefully I'll try and get past from the Carlin cars there today. And then the final corner, lots of different approaches typically into there, and it's such a long straight. I think exit's key. So, as street circuits go, it's kind of smooth, but a lot of really challenging corners.
Welcome back to the broadcast booth. Our other driver analyst for this event, Davey Hamilton. Davey, we just had an opportunity via our video boards to see an aerial shot of this entire facility, the harbor. That makes me want to look for a realtor.
We definitely need to be here in the wintertime.
Yeah.
I vote for that for sure.
Yeah, well, Zach and I were talking earlier. Ed Jones had a picture-perfect day yesterday.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if he doesn't do the same thing today. That team just looks so good, especially for the first time out, so impressive. And but there's Harvey, for one, definitely wants to beat him, but he's starting in that third position right now, and we'll see if he can get it done.
So now the mindset here. Some might say just a knee-jerk reaction to this. Oh, boy, Schmidt, Andretti, Bilardi. This means they better step up their game. Their game should have been at the top going into race number 1, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I've talked to some of those guys, and they felt that they were very prepared, and they felt they had a handle on the car. Bilardi, actually one of the teams that I talked to, they're behind the game. They got a couple big crashes. They found the weak points of these race cars right now. I talked to Dan Anderson as well, about the teams that are coming, and there are more teams coming. But it's always good, even though nobody wants to crash, you want that to happen. But they are finding the weak links of these race cars and finding out where to make them better yet even.
So, Zach, can you pinpoint one place where you simply must be fast here today in order to get a good lap in?
I've said this at a lot of tracks before, and it's the same wherever you go, whether it be a street course, oval, or permanent road circuit. Leading on these long straightaways, you have to be good out of the corner. You have to be able to really rotate the car, put the power down well, and that's not only going to keep you in front of people, but keep you going fast as well.
So again, Jones and Chilton, they'll make up the front row, and the green flag is out, and the drag race is underway. They fan out 4 wide. Harvey looking for some running room, and he wants to get to turn 1 first. It looks like, though, Ed Jones is going to hold on to it.
Harvey with the lead coming through, I think. He may have got it coming through turn 2. No, it is indeed. Jones with the lead as he works his way out of turn number 3.
The guy that dropped back there is Chilton, now in the 4th position. His teammate Ed Jones already through turn number 5. Then you've got behind him Harvey and as well Hargrove. Then Chilton, who didn't make it out of turn number 1 yesterday.
Well, as they make their way through the Pioneer Park area after a bonsai move by Jack Harvey, Jones was able to hold on to the spot. And the start of this race, Nick Yeoman, is shaping up eerily similar to yesterday's.
Spencer Pickett made a move a day ago. Now the battle is on for 4th. It is Chilton to the inside, Kaiser to the outside, and here comes Hargrove. Mark, throw a blanket over those 3 cars as they race for 4th.
So I hate to say this about a guy with all of that F1 experience, but 2 days in a row now, Zach, a little bit of inexperience on the start for Max Chilton?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're seeing here, and it's interesting as well because you see Jack Harvey, I was thinking, he's starting off a little bit slow here. He's been pressured by Spencer Pickett, but Ed Jones was saying yesterday that he's never really, done a race that's going to be as long as what we're doing today. So, Harvey, he has that experience of the long races that we all did together last year. So it'll be interesting, if the cars are set up a little bit different, if Harvey's setting up for a bit of a wrong run, Max Chilton's just going to settle in. He can't make any mistakes today.
So Jones, Harvey, Pickett, Chilton, your top 4. Then Kaiser, Hargrove, Serralles, Brabham, Petrahita, Anderson, Blackstock, and Ringel. It looks like, at least through the first couple of laps, that everybody is minding their proverbial P's and Q's. But again, Ed Jones seems to really be able to, Nick Yeoman, take advantage of the spoils of being P1.
Yeah, it's a good 6 or 7 car length lead. Then you've got Harvey with Pickett all over the rear wing. Then it's Chilton, Kaiser, Hargrove, Serralles, and Brabham as they reset up the thread of turn number 10. Ethan Ringel falling off the pace just a bit, but Mark through the middle of the pack, nobody giving an inch.
Rob Howden?
Not really surprised that we're not seeing a lot of really hard, aggressive action in the early couple of laps. Talking to the drivers down here on pit lane before they've got into their cockpits, they said the first couple of laps on these Cooper tires, they are very slippery. It takes a couple of laps to come up to 10 and get that optimum grip. Early on, though, it's like skating around. They really want to take it easy for these first couple of laps and not make a mistake.
Pretty good battle for second place. Jake Query, Jack Harvey, and Spencer Pickett.
Yep, and as a matter of fact, Harvey starts to go out wide. He's got 20 car lengths to make up on Jones, but Pickett is right behind him. As a matter of fact, Pickett now at a turn number 5 closes in about a half a car length back.
That's a nose-to-tail battle between Harvey and Pickett. Harvey trying to at least finish second for the second day in a row. Chilton is becoming somewhat of an interested spectator. Meanwhile, Nick Yeoman, the advantage continues to grow for Mr. Jones.
Yeah, you're watching his teammate, though, Chilton. He's turned up the wick just a bit here in the last lap or 2 because he and Pickett are stalking Jack Harvey. They run 2, 3, and 4 through turn number 10 and set up for turn 11.
Is it really to label this a race pace?
I think it is. I think that these guys, it's a longer race today, so it's going to be, things are going to change again now. I'm pretty impressed with Jones being able to pull that bit of a lead out again. He did that yesterday and kept that pace up, so we'll have to see. But this is a longer race. There's going to be more wear on these tires. Harvey, Zach said he has the experience of these longer races where the other guys don't. But right now, I tell you, after yesterday, I'm impressed with these guys up front.
Day, 45 today, and Jake Query, no change among the front 5.
Now, and I'll tell you one thing that's interesting about Chilton. Now, he's running in 4th right now. This is a guy who a year ago was in Formula One. I think we've seen in the first 2 races the fact that rolling starts, he still has to acclimate to. Had issue yesterday, didn't make it out of turn number 1. Then today, drops from 2nd to 4th. Nick Yeoman, right now, that's how they run the same 1 through 4 as a lap ago.
Yeah, everybody learning, but everybody chasing Ed Jones. Jack Harvey starting to claw in that. Kyle Kaiser's turned it up a bit as well. He's in 5th. Marcus, he tried to chase down that Carlin teammate of Max Chilton.
Great observation by Jake Query, Davey. Almost the opposite of the last couple of years of the Verizon IndyCar Series. Guys trying to get used to standing starts. Here you have a guy that's trying to get used to a rolling start.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, no, and it's a big difference. I mean, when you haven't done a rolling start before, just knowing how to do it, when to accelerate, they're not easy. It's going to take him a while to figure that out for sure, and he'll get it. Don't get me wrong, but he'll definitely get it.
Yeah, well, the thing for a while to getting to rolling starts is just everybody's so close together. You got a pretty good pace going on because you are starting the race. Just getting comfortable is, a big key. And another thing is there's a little bit of game that goes into it. In the drivers' meetings, they're always telling us not to play the starts. But, looks like we have, is that R.C. Anderson?
R.C. Anderson, yep. And he is pumping the fist, hoping to get restarted. It didn't look like he made any contact. And, Davey, we haven't seen the replays yet, but he's trying to get back underway.
I think he may just have a mechanical. I think he just pulled off the track. He's wanting that corner worker right there just to pull him back. I think he's asking to be pulled back in that hole. He pulled off to where he's not to cause a yellow, I think. So, it's still going to happen. Yeah, it looks like they could have pulled him right back out of the way and kept right on going. But it looks like no damage. I don't see any damage. It looks more like a mechanical issue.
That's our first call. It was not due to an incident, but after 4 laps have been completed, it's Jones, Harvey, Pickett, Chilton, and Kaiser, your top 5. Then Hargrove, Serralles, Brabham, Pedrahita, Anderson, Blackstock, and Ringel. Anderson will most assuredly drop for that pace, so he'll fall and allow Blackstock and Ringel to move up. Your walk through the paddock, Zach Veach, anything, thoughts and impressions from the drivers of yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a big part of it. There were some guys that went home very, very happy, and some guys went home a little disappointed. But that's the nice thing about the other events. You get to come on Sunday and improve on what you did on the first day.
Yeah, Davey, we just got to look at the play of the number 7 machine. Clearly a problem. That's not the sort of thing. That's smoke coming out of the rear of that car.
Yeah, if you have smoke, you want it off the tires to cook for the race. Not out your engine before the race is half over. So, yeah, actually, mechanical. Who knows? Who knows, but it definitely a mechanical issue on that car.
And, to see something like that, let's face it, Zach Veach, those cars have been, pretty bulletproof. We haven't seen too many mechanical issues in the series. Normally, it's guys putting them in the fence that ends the day.
Exactly, and that's how it's always been in any Mazda series that we ran in. These things have bulletproof the entire time, but hey, it is a new car. There's going to be constant learning as we go through the first few events of this, and the Indy Lights car we had was 12 years old, so we had all the kinks worked out. This is a bit of a learning experience.
Nick Yeoman, they're coming in front of you as we get ready to go back to green.
Yeah, going to be a great opportunity for second place running Jack Harvey to try to get a jump on Ed Jones. Pickett runs 3rd, Chilton 4th, and Kyle Kaiser mark your top 5.
So it's Jones, Harvey, Pickett, Chilton, and Kaiser, your top 5 as they snake their way through 11 and 12, preparing for that final turn as they work their way back onto that long straightaway. That thing seems to go on and on and on forever. And a great jump by Jones off of that turn. Harvey's trying to keep pace. They stay single file when they get to the start-finish line. Not much fanning out behind him. Into turn number 1 goes Jones. Harvey in tow. Pickett trying to keep pace. Chilton is right there. A little movement toward the back of the pack between Pedrahita, Anderson, and Blackstock, but Jake Query, Jones still in command.
Yeah, it seems like obviously now everybody a little more conservative. That front 4 stretches out just a bit. Then it takes a minute before suddenly you get that to 4. But right now the entire field, everybody safely single file through turn number 5 around Pioneer Park.
Oh, that place in P1 is such a massive advantage, Zach Veach, when he come off of that final turn.
These restarts, though, it's funny how it's different between first and second place. Ed Jones, you're a little nervous because you got to get that good start. Jack Harvey, it's exciting. This is going to be one of your better opportunities to get around to the front. And, hey, if you're leading an Indy Lights race, chances are you're going to stay up there if you don't make any big mistakes. So it's really important.
Nick Yeoman towards the rear of that field. Serralles, Brabham, Pedrahita, those guys tightening up a little bit.
Yeah, and I noticed right before we went to that full course caution, Matthew Brabham was all over the back of that number 4 car. And Marcus, they make their way down the front straightaway. I think that might be our best opportunity to see some action because Brabham has a fast car.
Yeah, that's a pretty tight one right there. They're chasing down the 8 machine of Hargrove Hargrove, and they'll go nose to tail. That threes them as they set up for turn number 1. So we're watching Hargrove in that orange and black car with Serralles and Brabham, Jake Query.
That's the battle for the 6th position right now. And as a matter of fact, Brabham taking a real good look at it. And as he works his way in on now, already through 5, looks like there might be actually a loose rear wing on Serralles, so perhaps he might drop back a bit.
Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising, Jake. We saw him all over the back of that 4-car, or Matthew Brabham over the back of that 4-car of Serralles. Here come the leaders. They'll race past Happy Theater up for turn number 10. Jones with a nice 3 or 4 car lead. Throw a blanket over 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but that battle between Serralles and Brabham continues, Mark, as they race out of turn 10.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the battle we've been watching. That's the one for 7th, and Hargrove starts to pull away a little bit. Jones, Harvey, Pickett, Chilton, and Kaiser will be your top 5 as they come off of that last turn down the front straightaway. Jones starting to inch that lead out a bit again, Zach.
Yeah, Ed Jones is just, you want to build yourself a gap. You want to push while the tires and things are still fresh if you're running green, just to get that little gap that you can manage the race goes, because it's easier to manage it then than pull it out of the race.
Maybe Brabham, he's putting a lot of pressure on Felix Serralles.
He is, and Brabham's a guy that, by the way, I don't think he had any test of these cars before he came here. He just got signed up right before this race. And he's a guy that wants to be in this Mazda series, in the Road to Indy series. He wants to be in Indy car, but right now, these are, it's all new to him again. He's back with that, but they're trying to figure these cars out. He doesn't have a lap time, I assure you. He's one of the best drivers and one of our up-and-comers, so he definitely wants to perform well to keep himself in that cockpit for some more events.
Nick, he all but rewrote the record books in the series below Indy Lights and had a steep learning curve last year, but still awfully competitive in the cars, Matthew Brabham.
Yeah, he races out of turn number 10, still chasing Felix Serralles. He did 2 years ago in Pro Mazda. He dominated, won like 13 out of 16 races. It was something ridiculous, but it was certainly a learning experience a year ago, Mark, as he went to victory lane just once.
Working lap number 10 of the 45, and again, this one 45 today. Yesterday was 30, and Jack Harvey likes his car. The 42 machine just turned the fast lap of the race.
Yeah, Jack Harvey might be setting himself up pretty well here. If he set his car up for the long run, he could be coming to him right now, and hey, this could make for an exciting end of the race as we get closer to 45 laps.
So can you speculate at all what changes Harvey's crew might have made to the car to give him a little more of what he needed to be a little faster today?
It's hard to say with these new cars. If it was an older Indy Lights car like last year, I could have told you they probably played with the ride heights and figured out with the wings and cambers to have the extra fuel load. But, with the Schmidt-Peterson guys, they're just such a great team. They got so much knowledge. And my previous engineer from Andretti, Doug Zister, he is there now working with R.C. Anderson. In the first couple tests, they just went through every change in the book. Even if they didn't need to, they just wanted to get an idea of what change did what. And I think that's going to play out really strong for them as we get later into the year.
But, Davey, we can say that regardless of the fact he may have not have been as fast or had the car as dialed in as Ed Jones, Jack Harvey still drove a very smart race yesterday.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He drove what he had. I mean, he wasn't going to go. He got the most out of that car, and he got out of the car. He knows that he got the most out of it. Nobody could have done any better than him in that car. But, today, I'll guarantee he made changes, and he just turned the fastest lap like that. So we'll see. We'll see if he can pull it off.
Jones, Harvey, Pickett, Chilton, and Kaiser, your top 5. Hargrove, Serralles, Brabham, Pedrahita, and Anderson, the top 10. Blackstock and Ringel round out the 12 cars still running. Anderson is no longer in the race, retired due to a mechanical failure after 4 laps. Let's go to Rob Houghton.
Guys went over to Tim Neff about Jack Harvey, and you guys are right. They fell off early yesterday, and of course they went to work to see if they could get that car to be a little better in the long run, and you're right, he's coming on strong here. Tim, obviously, we're a little bit worried that they might have went too early getting that car to come on and may fall off again, but you guys were right. They were looking for a more long run setup for that car.
The front two continue to have about a car length or two differential between them, but Jake Query just behind them. A pretty good battle for third between Pickett and Chilton heading your way.
Been a pretty good battle all day, as a matter of fact, and you are correct, and those front two are completely checked out. Chilton trying to keep Pickett right there within his sights. The gap right now about 3 car lengths, but Chilton trying to close in on Spencer Pickett.
Yep, the work continues for Chilton, and again, had to be as frustrated as anyone at the turn of events yesterday. But Nick Yeoman got it dialed in. He may have lost a couple of spots on the restart again, but set a pretty good race pace so far.
Yeah, he has been sliding that bright blue Carlin car all over this racetrack, and he is all over the back of the 12 of Spencer Piggott. Piggott gets a good run out of turn number 10, pulls to about 3 or 4 car lengths, and then a blanket over the cars, running about 5th through 7th, Mark.
And again, as we mentioned, a busy weekend, not only for Indy Lights with this doubleheader, but an equally busy weekend for F2000 and the Pro Mazda Series. Rob Houghton, you're with our most recent winners.
You know, Mark, we had the entire Mazda Road to Indy here this weekend, and I'm standing with their Pro Mazda winner, double winner this weekend, actually, Neil Alberico. Neil, to come out of the box to start the new season with Cape Motorsports, 2 wins, you really could not ask for more, especially seeing the fact that you signed very late in the run here.
Yeah, for sure. The guys worked really hard in the offseason to get the program together, and fortunate enough to even be on the grid, let alone have 2 victories. Can't say enough good things about Mazda and their Road to Indy program. It's been great.
And the other drivers had a chance to be at Cooper Tire Winterfest, our preseason series. You were not there. You got some testing in, but man, for you to be able to come out strong, you must have felt like you were going to come in a little behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I was in the car was last week, so shook it down the last 2 days and came out of the box strong.
2 big finishes, and is it sunk in already? It's a great start.
Yeah, I mean, sweeping the weekend doesn't happen often, so you have to enjoy it while it lasts, and then we got some hard work to do ahead of us. The season's just begun.
Just a couple weeks from now, we go to NOLA Motorsports Parks. Congratulations on your success today.
Thanks, Rob.
Well done.
Zach, I don't think there's any question when you cannot get a lot of seat time or any at all, then jump into a race car this late in the game and make it go fast and have success. Got to give a lot of credit to that race team.
For sure. Neil did a great job this weekend, and, you know, pressure is a privilege. Stepping into a series very last minute is a lot of pressure, and that can either help you succeed or that can be really hard for you to take. But he did a great job this weekend, and it's going to be exciting to see how he does the rest of the year, too.
Again, this race, 45 laps. Davey, no difference in terms of an adjustment from yesterday, adding the 15 laps, or is tire management a concern with those extra 15?
Well, one thing that we have here, Mark, is everything on these cars are new. So Cooper Tire, you know, they built a great race tire, and they want the best tire possible for this race car. So they're analyzing every single thing. So they analyzed the tire yesterday. They're going to be analyzing it today, the longer run, to see if they need to make changes. They've held up super good. Dallara, they builds the cars. They're going to be looking at every single thing on how the car's handled. If they change in long runs, they're going to take a lot of input from the teams and the drivers on anything that needs to be fixed possibly. And then you got Mazda. You know, I mean, what a great partner Mazda coming into the Indy Lights Series and continuing that Indy Lights Road to Indy. They are going to look at, just like we had a little problem. Who knows what that was? May not even been an engine problem, but from the manufacturers, the gearboxes, the uprights, everybody has anything to do with this car. This is a big weekend for them all, and they're all going to try to make it better, trust me.
And the exciting thing is, even with Cooper Tire and Mazda, what they learn here from these possible new Indy Lights cars can transfer over to their production street tires and production cars, and this is an exciting time to be in Indy Lights for sure.
Felix Serralles just lost that 7th position to Matthew Brabham. Brabham got a really nice run down that long main straightaway, and he is able to pick off that spot. So give Brabham a position on Felix Serralles, Rob Houghton.
You know, I think the guys picked it up early when they thought that he may have had a little bit of a loose wing. I ran down and talked to Kent Boyer, and he really quickly just said that Felix was complaining that the car was a bit snappy in the rear, so that would obviously equate to having a slightly loose rear wing.
So let's give Brabham a position change, and let's go back to the top of the grid and see Jones, Harvey, Piggott, Chilton, and Kaiser, your top 5. Hargrove, Serralles, Brabham, Pedrahita, Anderson, and Blackstock. Ringel completes the 12 cars still running. And R.C. Anderson is out of this race. Again, 45 to be completed. We've completed 15 now. We're working lap number 16 as the leaders are back in front of Jake Query. Jones, Harvey, Piggott, Chilton, and Kaiser continue your top 5. And again, a pretty good race pace, Davey. Much cleaner and greener than what we saw yesterday.
Well, that's back to that learning portion, right? No sense making such crazy moves early in the race like that happened yesterday. No sense going too wide through some of the tight corners. These guys are just laying it out. We got, you know, if it wasn't for one mechanical, every car that started would still be in the race. That's a good sign.
Ed Jones still hasn't put a wheel wrong, Nick Yeoman. The laps continue to mount for him.
No, but you know what? That second place running car of Jack Harvey has not as well. That lead is at about 6 or 7 car lengths, but Harvey's doing a really good job staying right on the back of him. Further back, Mark, we're watching Matthew Brabham. He picked off Felix Serralles, and now Brabham's starting to run down the 8 of Scott Hargrove. So Matthew Brabham looking awfully fast here in the early portions of this race.
Zach?
Yeah, well, the thing is with Jack Harvey, right now he's just stalking Ed Jones. He's waiting for Jones to put a little bit of a wheel wrong and just keep himself in that great position. And as you see a little further behind him, Spencer Pigot and Max Chilton are kind of get into a little battle of their own. And that's hard for Spencer because not only can he focus on trying to get caught up to Jack to, run up to the second position, now he's got to constantly be looking in his mirrors to see what Max is doing. And that pressure can slow both of them down.
So were you a driver that constantly checked those mirrors, or were you simply worried about what was in front of you?
It depends how good the car was that day, but simply, you got to keep your eyes forward. Every glance now and then just to see, if you need to conserve your tires a little bit more, if you need to push a little more. But, hey, you're only going to go backwards if you look back there. You got to keep your eyes forward.
David?
That's something interesting because, like the short track racing that we come up with in the United States, there is no mirrors. So you're always looking forward. So when they put a mirror in a car, my first time was like, what the heck is this, right? So you found yourself actually looking at them and not wanting to. And it actually, when you have a mirror, it puts more pressure on you if you're not exactly right. If somebody's pressuring you, because it takes away from your concentration. So when you have them, you need to play offense all the time. Anytime that you look in the mirror and try to play defense, it usually doesn't work. If it's a last lap situation and you're just trying to keep that position, that's one thing. But these guys need to just look forward and try not to know what's in that mirror behind you if you're getting pressure.
Because there's nothing better when you finally do check that mirror at that one particular spot every lap, and you just see the gap growing and growing because you know that you're
confidence
off the big
builds.
Yes.
Fellas, Matthew Brabham has himself a race car. Now all of a sudden he's all over that orange number 8 machine of Scott Hargrove. He is beating and banging all over the rear end of that number 8 machine.
He just looks like a little cleaner line through some of the technical areas of this racetrack, and turns 4, 5, 6, and through the real technical parts. Just not using up as much track. Looks like he has more control of the car. Looks like Hargrove, I think, sliding around just a little bit more than he probably would like at this point.
Nick Yeoman, take a peek at that battle that comes your way between Brabham and Hargrove.
Yeah, it's about 1 car length. That's the distance. That time Brabham swung it really wide, trying to chase down Hargrove. Felix Serralles not going away as well, so that is a battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Brabham just about got Hargrove there. Let's go back to pit lane and check in with Rob Howden.
So this weekend, obviously a debut all sorts for both Carlin Racing, the Dallara IL-15, and the Cooper Tire as well. Trevor, your man Ed Jones out front like he was yesterday, looking good. Let's talk about running this car and these tires for 45 laps. I just asked if you've done a simulation before. You said this was it. This is the first 45-lap run.
Yeah, this is the first time we've done this distance, and Ed's never done a race this long either, so it's going to be a tricky old race, and we're just trying to preserve the rear tyres, basically.
Getting any input from Ed from the car?
No, he's had radio silence. We're giving him an update on the gap. We're giving him encouragement. He's doing a fantastic job. His lap times are very consistent, which to me means he's comfortable. So, yeah, so far so good.
Obviously a great day yesterday. A lot of change to the car. Did you stay pretty much with the baseline?
No, we stayed with the baseline. It'd be stupid to change it. It was so good yesterday. A little bit of fine-tuning, tyre pressures because of the weather today. It's a bit warmer. But, yeah, it's good. Max, his start didn't go so well, so he's a bit bottled up in P4. But I think we've got the pace to be on the podium with Max as well.
A long race still.
Absolutely. We're not even halfway yet.
Trevor Carlin, folks, are happy with where they are right now. This is a 45-lap simulation. I love this Dallara IL-15 program. Every time we're on the racetrack, we're learning something new.
Yeah, Zach, is that a big adjustment for a driver like Ed Jones to go from 30 to 45 laps without a lot of experience in his car?
It's different because I remember when I was going from Pro Mazda to Indy Lights, for me, the first thing was just physically. Ed Jones is probably in great shape with having his experience over in Europe in the high horsepower, high downforce cars they have there. But the other thing is how do you control of pushing the car and making the tire last too. So Ed, he's got a little bit of a gap now, so he just has to concentrate on just making sure he's not getting any wheel spin, he's not putting excessive slide or excessive wear on the tires, just to make sure you want to always have a little bit in the bank so you can push the last 5 laps if you need to.
You talk about that physical endurance. You as a driver, go back to 2 years ago, going into last season, if I'm not mistaken, one of the things that you always want to improve, but one of the things that you worked on the hardest was just putting on some weight, getting stronger, getting in better shape, because as you well know, when You become physically tired. That's when the mental mistakes come.
Completely. I mean, I was very lucky to team up with Pit Fit Training for my past 2 seasons, but my first year in Indy Lights, I can't remember a race I got out of the car and I wasn't just exhausted. I mean, it was a lot of work for me, and I wanted to make sure that was something that didn't happen in 14. That allowed me to come out here, have such a strong year, and same thing as I'm trying to prepare to get into the IndyCar. These cars are going to be extremely physical with the new aero kits, and the races are twice as long as an IndyCar race. So I've put on 15 pounds of muscle this winter, so I'm definitely ready and excited to go.
Davey, after your long layoff after your injury in Texas, once you finally got back into the race car, where did you feel it the most the first time you got out of one?
You know, that's a good point, because there had a lot of things going through. It was like a rookie again, being that far off, you're out of the car. So not only did I have the mental challenge of getting back up to speed and filling these cars and knowing what it takes to get back, you know, how to feel, make sure I'm fast again. But then that physical side came, and I did the same thing. I had a really good trainer that you know, got me up to shape, got me into shape and up to speed actually, and it was, you know, I mean, there's things. I mean, when you're especially at Indy, when you're pulling so many G's, your neck is one thing that you know, definitely takes a beating, and so yeah, these drivers. Let me tell you what, you work hard. I mean, you work hard in the gym, and Pit Fit's a great place. My sons go there as well, and it takes you to the next level. They do a lot of things just to really get you mentally and physically fit to, you know, perform at the top level.
We finally reached the halfway point, and the advantage is about 1.3 for Jones over Harvey. Pickett right there in third. Chilton and Kaiser round out the top 5, but that battle between Hargrove and Brabham continues on. We see Serralles is trying to stay abreast of the developments in that particular battle. They work their way through 4, 5, and 6 now and set up for 7 and 8. So that's the battle that's the tight one. It's Hargrove, the number 8 machine, Brabham in the 83, Serralles in the number 4. That is the battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th, Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, they set up for turn number 10 on the brakes, back on the gas. Serralles a little tentative through that corner. Brabham really strong, Mark, slinging that car to the left and then to the right in the corner. He is certainly all over the back of that number 8, Scott Hargrove.
Clearly, Davey, those front 2 are in a class all by their lonesome.
Yeah, they sure are. How about if Harvey wasn't here, one of our veterans, you know, because, you know, when you have a rookie team and a rookie driver come in and be able to do what Jones is doing, that's just kind of unheard of, really. So that just tells you how good these guys really are. And I will assure you that all the teams that have been here, all the drivers that have been here in the past, know they have a new sheriff in town right now, and they're going to have to do a lot of work to catch up.
Zach, it looks like it may be just a matter of time before Brabham finds the room that he needs around Hargrove.
Yeah, Matt's really just kind of biding his time right now and pressuring Hargrove. Just wear out those tires and make a mistake right now. I mean, Matt, he's a really strong guy when it comes to the mental side of racing. Getting to work with him last year, and you know, he really needs to perform this weekend. This is off of the year for Indy Lights. He's trying to turn that into a full season, so he needs to be pushing as hard and making up as much ground as possible right now.
Yeah, we were talking about Serralles being involved in that battle, and Davey, now all of a sudden it looks like those guys have gotten hooked up nose to tail, and they're starting to reel in the 18 of Kyle Kaiser a little bit.
Yeah, no, they're actually catching it, but I'll tell you what, I think on Cooper's side, if they want to check tire wear in a 45-lap race, just go check out Hargrove's rear tires after this race is over, because he's definitely sliding those tires and spinning them. He's sideways every corner, giving it all it has. And, you know, we're only 24 or 45. There's still 20 laps to go, basically.
Jake, that battle coming off of turn number 1, setting up for turn 2. Now it's the orange car of Kaiser, and he is trying to hold off Hargrove and Brabham.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Brabham is really making that one interesting. As a matter of fact, as they close in now for that right-hander at turn number 4, then that quick left of turn number 5, Brabham starts to close that gap just a car length and a half.
That orange car is the number 8 of Hargrove, we should say. Kaiser with a little different livery on that 18 machine running just in front of them. And Nick, that thing is kind of accordioned on both sides of it. It runs from Kaiser all the way back to Serralles.
I'll tell you what, Kaiser may very well factor into this battle, because Scott Hargrove no longer having to just protect that 6th position. He can go on the attack because he's about 6 or 7 car lengths back of Kaiser.
Yeah, we have reached the halfway point now. We're working lap number 5 of the 45 that we will compete here today. Ed Jones continues to lead the advantage at about 1.5 seconds as the leaders come back in front of Jake Query.
Get the impression that Harvey gave his best shot a few laps ago, then backed it off just a little bit, because that gap, as you said, now widening into that 2-second nearly range. I mean, it really started to get close, and then Harvey's backed off just a little bit. The bigger gap is the one that separates those top two from the third and fourth position. Right now, Nick Yeoman, that blue machine, just like yesterday, Ed Jones running nearly all by his lonesome.
Ed Jones, no problem with Jack Harvey. That battle for third getting very interesting, Mark Janes. I've been watching Max Chilton. He's trying to find just about any part of the racetrack he can use to try to run down Spencer Pigot. Those drivers will negotiate the left-hand turn in turn number 10 and set up for turn 11, but Max Chilton going left, going right, trying to find anything he can to catch that third-place running car.
Zach, are you like me under the impression that it looks like Mr. Chilton's starting to get real comfortable behind the wheel of that race car?
I believe so. He's learned from yesterday. He's comfortable. The car's set in. He knows what he has. He's probably starting to work on the tools to make it a little bit better if he needs to, and just focusing on Spencer. As a driver sitting behind a guy that, Chilton's really close to Pigot through all of the course, he's just trying to find where his weakness is. Try to size up Spencer and see where's the best place for him to get around at if he can.
Jake, not much of a change in the differential between Pigot and Chilton.
Same old, essentially. I'll tell you, that other battle you're talking about is still that one taking place between Hargrove and Bradham, a little bit further back in the pack. Meanwhile, up front, Jones already setting through turn number 10.
Yeah, and we talk about how big, just battling for these positions. You may think, okay, it's just a battle for sixth, but Mark Janes, remember a year ago, if Jack Harvey gets one more better position at any race, he wins the championship, and vice versa. If Gabby Chavez would have given one up, the drivers make their way through turn 10. Matthew Brabham still all over the rear wing of Scott Hargrove.
Davey, that tells you how small the margin of error is. We've seen it a couple of years in a row now to where a driver could almost go back to this race and say, well, yeah, that may be where I lost it at St. Pete in the opener.
Yeah, it's one of those guys at one time. I lost to Tony Stewart by 6 points in the championship, so I know how those points and how crucial those are, because I felt it personally, and it's, man, you have to make every moment count for sure. One thing right now with Harvey as well, he's actually in a good place being in second right there, because if he looks in his mirrors, he can't even see third. He's far enough ahead where third's way back, but when Jones looks at his, he can still see Harvey. So the pressure's still on Jones just a little bit more so than Harvey.
Brabham took a shot in turn 1, Zach. He overshot the turn, and he lost all kinds of momentum, and now Serralles is all over him.
That's so tough. I know Matt's getting frustrated because he probably feels like he has a little bit of a faster car right now, but you have to make every opportunity count, and I think that's the bad thing. He went for it, but it just didn't play out for him. So now he's got pressure from behind. He's got to work his way back up to Hargrove to try to make something happen again.
And that pressure is from Felix Serralles, Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, that's a tough break. Matthew Brabham's aggressive driving got the best of him yesterday. Today, he had to get out of the throttle and go wide in one, as you mentioned. Serralles is there, but Mark, still keeping an eye on that battle for fourth, because Max Chilton is making Spencer Pigot sweat as they race down the front stretch.
We go back and look in on Brabham and Serralles. Did we see the rear end of that 83 dance out a little bit coming off that tight turn, Zach?
Yes, definitely. Matt is trying to milk all he can out of it right now. We're on lap 28 here, so you still have tires in effect you got to think about, but I think he's definitely trying to push hard to make something happen here.
Pigot and Chilton tightening up in front of Jake Query.
But the thing I think is funny is, though, Ed Jones, this is, like we said, a long race for him. So I remember when I was leading here last year, I went to the halfway point, and they told me, okay, you have 20 laps to go. And you're just sitting there thinking, like, that's the longest time ever. You feel like you've been in the car a while. You just want it to end already because you're out there.
Especially when you're leading, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, anything can happen in these next few laps that we do, and you just don't want it to be something that you did.
Pigot and Chilton continues to be a good one, Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, they raced out of turn number 10. The difference is about 3 or 4 car lengths. Is searching. Turn 10 hasn't been his strong spot, but Mark, notice he's been getting a great run out of that final corner to the front straightaway.
Who feels the bigger level of frustration in this scenario, Davey? Is it Pigot in front, or is it Chilton who's trying to catch him?
Probably Chilton. I'll tell you why. He started second. And so he lost those positions on the start. So there's frustration just right there, not being able to, losing positions right at the start of the race, knowing that he could be in second right now, and probably if he got second, he's probably fast enough to stay there. So he's probably the most frustrated in this one.
Straight line speed seems to be where Pigot has an advantage, Zach. On the technical portions of the course, that's where Chilton seems to really pull up.
And that could be the Spencer is running, a little more trimmed out. He's got a little bit of less downforce, so that's allowing him to have that speed in a straight line. And he's just struggling a little bit through the corners where Chilton probably has a little more downforce. But hey, it's a give or take. And if you're fast on the straightaway, you're probably going to keep it as long as you can get onto it well.
Approaching 30 laps complete. It's Jones, Harvey, Pickett, Chilton, Kaiser, Hargrove, Brabham, Serralles, Pedrahita, Anderson, Blackstock, and Ringel. Ederson out of the race. Rob Howden.
Zach Veets, you're exactly right. I walked up and down the pit lane and had a look at the front and rear wings. Most drivers either fully pushed up in the rear wing, maybe one position back. The front's a lot different on all these different cars. The back pretty much the same, but everybody a little different on that front wing.
It's definitely a gamble. I remember at Long Beach every year, that's always the thing. We roll out with our wings set in a place that we'd never run them, just trying to play games with people. But your engineer is saying, well, do you think you're going to be able to hold, this low of downforce through the corners? And you just say, I hope, because that's where we need to be to win this one.
Nick Yeoman, it won't be much longer, and you will get a bird's eye view of the fact that 14 of Chilton is absolutely wearing out the number 12 of Spencer Piggott. Piggott doing all he can to hold him off. They cruise through the Pioneer Park area, and that long straightaway now with Piggott coming into your view.
And as impressive as it been, Max Chilton's drive has been, you got to give a tip of the cap to Spencer Piggott to hold him off. Chilton's been able to dive into these corners a little bit deeper. That time he picks up the throttle a little bit quicker, but again, it's that speed from that soul red Mazda of Spencer Piggott that's kept him in third.
Laps continue to wind down now, working lap number 31 of the 45. And Zach, I have to ask, my purchase above turn 10 for the Verizon IndyCar Series, I'm just amazed. The margin of error is so slim because that outside retaining wall, once you clear the apex of that turn, comes on you in a hurry, huh?
That's the thing about street courses. I remember my first ones that I did. It's easy to be off when you're scared to kind of be close to the walls, but as you get more comfortable, you actually kind of start looking through the concrete and you just assume where you're going to be. And once you have that confidence on a street course, that's when you become really, really strong.
And Davey, obviously you've been around here in a pace car, you've been around here in the two-seater. I would imagine you got to be aware of those reference points even in those cars.
Yeah, that's a little longer. It's like a bus, right? Yeah. You got a little extra length, but yeah, you definitely do. And Zach's right. Once you really get the feel of the course, and we've been coming here now in Long Beach and some of these places long enough, even Toronto, that it's really kind of comfortable. You know what the limitations are. Even when you overdrive, there's a corner in Toronto. It's really bumpy getting into it, and it's so easy to overdrive it and make a mistake there. But once you get the feel of it, and you get really a lot of confidence, but even though there's no room for error, we do know that. But as you get laps in, you do feel pretty confident.
And when you put a perfect lap together on the street course, it's like walking that tightrope. When you just get everything perfect and you only left a half an inch between the tire and the wall through every corner to put together that qualifying lap or that race lap, it's really just an incredible feeling because you hanged everything out there and really pushed the car.
Didn't you wrestle a stadium truck around here last year?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
and it was in the rain, if you remember. So I started off good in Toronto, finished my first time finishing on the podium, and Robbie Gordon, they're here again actually, and was going to hope, but all this, unfortunately for Robbie, he's got about 10 trucks in the ocean because he did a great event in Australia. They're coming back to be at this event, and Long Beach Harbor's on strike.
Oh, wow.
So he can't get his trucks off the boats. There are a line of boats out there, not knowing when he's going to get his trucks, but he still has 10 here. But last year was in the rain, and it was like, I think P.J. Jones ended up winning it, and that surprised me because he's usually the first one to spin out on dry. But he made it through on the wet, and I think all the rest of us spun out one time or another. But we had a blast. Those trucks are a lot of fun, and I'm used to keeping all four wheels on the ground, and with those jumps, it's a whole different experience. But he has a fun program going on there.
33 laps we're working now of the 45 that we're set to compete here this afternoon. The lead has grown to 2.5 seconds. That's Ed Jones looking to go back-to-back this weekend. Jack Harvey continues to run in that second position. Piggott is P3. Chilton and then Kaiser round out the top five. Let's go back to pit road and Rob Howden.
Down here right now with Ricardo Juncos, his man Spencer Piggott running a strong third place just like he did yesterday, but getting pushed hard by Max Chilton. Pretty consistent lap times right now, Ricardo. Are you happy with the way your young driver's doing?
Yes, very happy with both of them. We still 12 laps to go, and we was looking for the tires. It's the first time for us such a long race, so we didn't know much what to expect. So I think we're doing great job. Still 12 laps to go, like I said, and we gotta keep the heads down and see what happens to them.
And nothing from Spencer on the radio at all? He's keeping quiet?
Yeah, it's quiet. Everything looks okay so far.
He's kind of busy right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Like that. Ricardo Juncos, folks, his new team here doing great with their young charge. The Pro Mazda champion running third here. Great weekend so far at his debut in Indy Lights.
Davey, so important for the overall health of the series to not only see drivers move up, but in terms of Juncos, seeing teams move up as well.
You know, it's really good, actually, and the Mazda Road to Indy works. I mean, it really does work. And Dan Anderson did a great program with starting the Formula 2000s into the Formula Mazda, now into the Mazda Indy Lights series. And if it wasn't for Mazda and Cooper Tire and all the supporters, this Road to Indy wouldn't exist. So he's done a great job. It's growing, it's building. There's new, like I said, with these new cars, there's new energy, there's new owners and drivers. So watch out, man. I think it's going to take off.
Well, Brabham has gathered it back in, and Nick Yeoman, he is absolutely all over the number 8 machine of Scott Hargrove. They're coming into your view now.
Yeah, Scott Hargrove's had to drive it in a little bit deeper than I think he wants to in the last couple laps, and that's allowed Brabham to close right up. It's about a half a car length as they make their way through turn number 10. Brabham with a good run, Mark, as he is running down Scott Hargrove.
Well, he's looking to get through 11 and 12. They stay nose to tail. He takes a peek to the inside, climbs on the binders, and works across the rear of that car. We'll see what kind of momentum. You see that thing, a little slide job at the exit of the turn now. They're nose to tail down that long main straightaway.
This goes back to exactly what Davey was talking about. I know Hargrove, he is sliding around a lot around this track, and I think that his tires are finally getting to that give-up point. It's giving Matt the perfect opportunity to put the pressure down.
That's a pretty good battle coming your way, Jake Query.
Yeah, Brabham just looks so much more in control of his car right now. As a matter of fact, as they start now to go through the gearbox through turn 4, that's where Brabham really allows himself now to get close to Hargrove. Distance about the same now as they work their way through Pioneer Park, but you get the impression that Matthew Brabham is indeed perhaps reeling him in. We shall see whether or not Brabham, Nick Yeoman, has a chance now to close in on Hargrove.
Yeah, these are new cars, but these are old race car drivers. Remember, once they get comfortable, they're going to get aggressive. Mark Janes, Matthew Brabham, he's lost about a car length and a half, but Hargrove streaks by in turn 10 with that lead.
It's hard to label Matthew Brabham as a veteran considering how young he is, Davey, but that veteran is putting some pressure on Scott Hargrove.
Yeah, and what he needs to do right now, I'm watching him this last few laps. He's starting to slide around pretty good as well, and if he can, just try to conserve his tires the best that he can, but still put that pressure on Hargrove. Make sure that Hargrove is wearing his stuff out. Try to cool his tires off a little bit. With there's 9 laps to go. With about 3 to go, really charge and try to get that one spot.
Zach, that lead continued to grow for Hargrove a bit down that long main straightaway. And again, is that an indication of maybe tires going away a bit on Brabham's car?
Well, Matt was pushing really hard behind Hargrove there for a minute, so maybe he just got him a little too hot. If he gives himself a little bit of a gap, he can cool him down just the slightest bit and might be able to get him back up there. But, you know, we got 9 laps left in this race. This is the time we're going to start seeing people really push to make something happen. And I think if Jack Harvey has something in the bag for Ed Jones, he's going to be showing it now too.
Heading toward the final turn of the course before they get back to that long main straightaway. That battle has still not shaken loose for third between the 12 of Spencer Pigot and the 14 of Chilton. It's a nose-to-tail battle now as it reaches the start-finish line again. 8 laps remaining in this race. We see Pigot being able to get to turn 1 first, and Chilton, for all intents and purposes, Davey, set up shop right in the tire tracks for now.
Yeah, there's a couple really good battles, and that is one of them for that third position. That's for the podium. You want that. You want to get up on that podium, and the one position doesn't seem that much. But when you're standing up there with the guy that won, the guy who's right in front of you, it makes you feel a lot better for that.
We've seen guys go back-to-back on race weekends, but rarely have we seen the podium be identical from one day to the next. But it's Jones, Harvey, Pigot, Chilton, and Kaiser, your top 5. Then Hargrove, then Brabham, and Serralles. Pedrahita is 9th quick, Anderson 10th quick, then Blackstock and Ringel, the lone retiree on lap number 4, the car of R.C. Anderson and that number 7 Sam Schmidt machine. There's that battle between Hargrove and Brabham in front of you, Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, they race through turn number 10. Brabham just about caught that bright white concrete wall to his right, exiting that corner. He is pushing awfully hard, Mark, looking a little inside. Some shallow routes into that final corner as they race down the front straightaway.
That's a nose-to-tail battle. Narrowly missing the outside retaining wall was Chilton at the exit of the turn. They'll make that long haul down the straightaway, the long straightaway, and again, battles all over the place, especially from third back through seventh place, Jake Weary.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that's what the fans are paying attention to, because those front two have really separated themselves now. Then that battle between Piggott and Chilton, actually still a good one. That's the battle for third. Chilton trying to keep him in his sights. Then you've got a gap a little bit, and then that Kaiser-Brabham battle for sixth also still remains. Meanwhile, up towards the front, as Jones checks himself out, Nick, that battle for third, a pretty darn good one.
Yeah, boy, if Spencer Piggott holds on and claims a second straight podium, he will have earned it, because Max Chilton has been all over the back of that Soul Red car for the majority of this race. They race through turn number 10 and set up for 11, Mark Janes. Almost looks like one car when they race through this part of the track.
So, as the old adage goes, catching him one thing, Davey, passing him is another. What makes that so difficult?
Well, especially on a street course, we talked, there's really one really good passing zone and two marginal passing zones on this racetrack, and so you need to be fast coming off the corners. Unfortunately, he's just a little bit slower. Chill's just a little bit slower coming off those corners, and he can't really get the run where he needs to try to make that pass.
Piggott and Chilton back in front of you, Jake.
Piggott now with about a 4-car length advantage, we will call it. They work their way in through turn number 4. To give you an idea how big the gap back is, those two pretty darn comfortable. Now, that battle for sixth is still a good one between Brabham and Kaiser. Actually, that's the battle for the 5th spot. But meanwhile, or Hargrove, I should say, in Brabham, Kaiser finds himself right now very comfortably in that 4th position. But that battle between Jones and as well the second place machine right now of Harvey already now separated out, as Jones from the United Arab Emirates continues to put this one in the bag, Mark.
Final lap starting to wind down now. We've got about 5 remaining, a couple until we see the white flag, and so far it appears as though Jones has a solid shot of going back-to-back. Zach, over the course of this weekend, not only with the Indy Lights, but also the Verizon IndyCar Series, the two troublesome spots here are 4 and 10. What causes guys typically to overshoot that?
Well, it's so inviting. You can make up a lot of time on the brakes there, so you have to go in as deep as you possibly can, but this is a street course. We're running on city streets here, and it's bumpy too, so when you're constantly adjusting ride height, sometimes you hit a bump differently, and it skids the car. You have to lock up, and there you go.
Davey, in terms of the runoff areas 4 and 10, to be perfectly honest with you, they're pretty forgiving. I mean, you really don't run the risk of doing too much damage to a race car if you overshoot a turn here.
Yeah, that's the good thing about it. There is some overshooting areas where you spin around, but the bad news is you don't want to go in those. Even though if you don't hit something, you lose so much time to get turned around and trying to get back on the track. Now, it doesn't damage your car, but you do lose a lot of ground. Now, one thing that I see is that Jones still impressive, right? I mean, he slowly just keeps pulling away, and now with only 6 laps to go, really 5 here soon, 6 laps to go, I guess it is. He's really in the driver's seat again. He can just kind of cruise at this point. He doesn't need to put down track record laps. He just needs to stay consistent, and he pretty much has this thing in the bag.
Flag stand gives them 5 laps to go. Brabham gets to the inside of Hargrove. Can he outbreak him to the turn? So far, he cannot. Hargrove bobbles just a little bit. Brabham tucks right in behind him. Jake, that side-by-side battle now toward you.
I'll tell you what, Hargrove has 0 margin for error. Brabham now looks every which way but Friday. Goes up high now, and you get the feeling Brabham, he slides a little bit through turn number 4. Hargrove through turn number 5. Brabham is right there and waiting to pounce around Pioneer Park.
He didn't want to wait till the last lap to make that move in case it was not successful. Wanted to give himself some time to recover and maybe take another shot at him. We'll see if he's able to pull that off now as they head toward Nick Yeoman in turn 10.
A lap ago, that bright orange car of Scott Hargrove bounced it over the turn 10 curbing. That's what allowed Brabham to close in. Perfect through turn 10, though, as Brabham stalks him about 3 or 4 car lengths back.
Boy, from 10 up to the final turn before they got back to the straightaway, that's where he seems to be strong, Zach.
Yeah, Matty B, he's really going this last section and getting onto the front straight, because every opportunity he has been going into turn 1. And look, we just saw Max Chilton try to make something around Spencer Piggott, and Spencer just fights right back and keeps the 3rd position there.
Yeah, that battle's coming at you, Jake. It looked like Chilton had it in the turn, but Piggott grabbed it right back. So Jones and Harvey continue to kind of run their own race. Piggott, Chilton, and Kaiser, your top 5, as the laps continue to wind down now. We're working about 3 laps left in this one. And we see Matt Brabham, Davey, he's not going away quietly.
He's not going away quietly, but, that was interesting for that third position. And Chilton went down in turn 1, definitely made the pass, and got, but then he overshot the turn 2 and got passed right back, so he sits himself back and forth.
And it's funny that the fight for 6th place and 3rd place looks exactly the same.
Does,
I think that just goes to show the talent that we have in this field and the kind of racing this new Dallara is producing. It's going to be really exciting because these kids, I guess can't really call them kids because they're my age, but these guys,
we could call you
exactly. But they're going after it.
Here he goes pushing, again. Here he goes down turn 1.
Oh,
he's going to make it stick.
Oh, no, Spencer gets him then.
That inside line is so very tough to make stick down there in turn 1, Zach.
Yeah, you have to be really there, and you got to be committed too. You just got to roll off the brakes, really push it in there, and just pray that you make the exit. But the guy on the outside is going to pinch you and make it tough for you for sure.
That is a cool battle between one of the up-and-comers and Piggott. Don't know how long Chilton will be in Indy Lights. Is not in for the full season. He has some other commitments overseas, but certainly that race team is looking to eventually get to the Verizon IndyCar Series. Don't know if he'll be there at that time, but he's putting on a good show today with Spencer Piggott, Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, Trevor Carlin says he'd love to take one, maybe both of those guys. Amazed that after that bonsai move that Max Chilton made, I thought that battle for 3rd might be over, but Mark, he is running Spencer Piggott down. Kyle Kaiser unchallenged for 5th, but Max Chilton putting on a show trying to get on the podium.
Laps continue to wind down, and Chilton again trying to hold on to that, or grab that 3rd spot and give his team 2 of the 3. We're getting a look at that replay of that earlier attempted move by Brabham, and Davey just carried too much momentum into the turn.
That's too much, and it's happened. They're all trying it, man. That turn 1's where the action is, but you got to be able to hold the car down and not slip out of the line.
And the other tough part about turn 1 is you got those paint strips too. I mean, this is an airport runway, so some of those paint strips aren't rubbered up like the others, especially the ones on the inside, and you get a tire on that, and it's very easy to lock up.
Looking back at the leaders now, Jones and Harvey. Again, they're running their own race, but that battle between Piggott and Chilton, it is not settled out yet. Those guys continue to go at one another.
Yeah, Spencer Piggott had to light him up a couple corners ago. Max Chilton is there, but can he get around him? About a car length and a half behind as they set up for turn 10. Chilton jumps on the gas. He's there, Mark, with flags in the air.
Yep, your leader goes by the slide. You'll see the flag displayed, Davey, for the 2nd day in a row. Second race in an impressive run by Ed Jones.
Yeah, a very impressive run by a 9-second lead, by the way, over 2nd place. And matter of fact, 3rd place is just going by us right now, and are both 6 seconds over another. Well, actually, it'd be 15 seconds over 3rd place.
Important thing for Jack Harvey to remember, though, Zach, while he didn't have the car to win, he still piled up some points today.
Jack Harvey, he's smart like that. That's how he almost won the Indy Lights Championship last year. The guy was just constantly on the podium, just right there in the points where he needed to be. That's maturity and experience. You gotta win when you can, but if you can't, you gotta rack up the points on the podium. I remember Michael telling me it was his 4th and 5th place finishes that won him his championships.
Well, we see the leader come off of turn number 10 for the final time, work his way through 11 and 12. We get a beautiful view of the waterway as he heads through that final turn. He'll come off of that turn with Jack Harvey in tow, some 6 seconds behind. And coming down the straightaway for the final time, the dive to the inside under the twin checkers. And Ed Jones goes back-to-back here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Now let's see how the rest of those races shake out. Jack Harvey will grab the 2nd spot. Can Chilton get a run on Piggott off the final turn? He will not, so it looks like the podium, Davey Hamilton, is going to be identical 2 days in a row.
2 days in a row, pretty impressive. Those guys showed they're here for real, and today kind of put the stamp. It was extra 15 laps, so it was the more standard length race for the Mazda Indy Lights car.
Well, Nick Yeoman, while the front 2 certainly checked out, were in a class all by themselves. Pretty good battle today. Piggott and Chilton gave each other a lot. Kaiser, Hargrove, Brabham, and SERRALLES put on good shows as well.
And I know the car owners will love to hear this. Thankfully, everybody made it through turn 10 here on the final lap clean. That battle between Max Chilton and Spencer Piggott. Piggott was able to hold them off, and then certainly tip of the cap to Matthew Brabham and Scott Hargrove that put on one heck of a battle for 6th, Mark.
Well, Zach Vicha, certainly any concerns that anyone might have had about the durability, the raciness, all of those things with this new package I think those fears were alleviated after the 2 races this weekend.
Definitely. Dallara, Mazda, and Cooper Tires did a great job putting this car together, and to come out here and run this strong at St. Petersburg really just shows you at the quality that they keep and before they put something out into the public. And I'm really excited to see how things are going to go. Ed Jones and Max Chilton with Carlin were extremely fast here, but we got a couple of those big circles coming up here later in the year, and that's going to be a first for the European guys. So when we get to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the other short ovals, I think there might be a little bit of a learning curve there as well.
That's a great point. Jones, Harvey, Pickett, Chilton, Kaiser, top 5. Let's hear from the guy at the top of this organization, Dan Anderson.
Dan, obviously your partner's putting on a show today. Dallara, Cooper, Mazda, these cars look good. The racing was great. We had a couple awesome battles. This is the best show we've seen so far for these Indy Lights cars. It was fun to watch.
It is fun, and we're getting there. We've got a few things we have to work with. I think there was some exciting racing as the race wore on. The longer race makes a difference. It makes the battles tighter. We're still playing with the push-to-pass option to fine-tune it and make it more effective. We got a few things to do there, but overall I'm delighted. It's a great first weekend outing. Mazda power plants, Cooper tires. Dallara built an awesome car. I'm very happy.
Always a work in progress.
Always a work in progress. Thank you.
Dan, well done.
Thank you.
There he is, folks. Danny Anderson. As the cars start rolling in here, we'll work our way down to see if we can't get a quick chat with Ed Jones.
Yep, want to hear from the winner and Zach Beach before we let you go. Thank you so much for your efforts the last 2 days. You took to it well. As we said yesterday, the rookie stride. But again, let's update the folks on what you're working on.
Again, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I love racing. I'm a fan, so getting to watch it here and talk about it with you guys is really enjoyable. And, of course, in the meantime, I'm just working extremely hard to put my sponsorship together to run in the Verizon IndyCar Series. I think we're making baby steps. We're going in the right direction. I'd love for you guys to see me in May doing that big race at the end of there. But, we just got to take it one day at a time and put together what we can.
Well, you've got that IndyCar radio karma working for you. I told you yesterday. So
well, I appreciate
it. Something good will break loose for you real soon. But until that comes, I'll always welcome in the booth for practice or qualifying. Love to have you.
Thank you.
So, Davey Hamilton, as we get ready for the Verizon IndyCar Series, 216 days, I believe, the checkers on the last campaign, and so many questions. I don't know that any got answered so far qualifying other than the fact that Penske's still dominant.
Well, with 2, 3, 4, it's pretty obvious that he's dominant. Now we have to see with these new body kits how they're going to hold up in this first race. There is some issues. I found out that there could be some weak links or some weak spots on the series and around the body kit. So we'll see. We'll see in a full race if they all hold in there.
Takuma Sato seems to be the one interloper over the course of the weekend to this Chevrolet party. I think Larry Foyt, his impact over the last couple of years has certainly been felt. They made some engineering changes with that race team, and that team's got to feel pretty pumped up after their efforts so far this weekend.
Yeah, they're finally listening to AJ, right? That's what makes them fast. They finally listen to AJ. No, he done a great job. And having 2 cars, I think having 2 cars, it helps a lot, too, just to get double the information.
Sato said that yesterday. Well, I tell you, a guy who has owned this weekend, he's Ed Jones, and he's in victory lane with Rob Howden.
Ed Jones, Mark Janes up there just said you owned this weekend, and you certainly did. You were the guy at the front all weekend long. The Carlin team was quick. You got to feel pretty darn good wrapping up this weekend with another victory.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I can't thank the team enough. Every session we've done, the car's been great to drive, and I think the main part of that race was the consistency. Throughout the whole race, I was able to smash in only within a few tenths of a second, and that won us the race.
45-lap tire run, the first time you've done it, the first time you've gone that far. Tell me how you feel, and tell me how the tires feel.
Yeah, it's the longest race I've ever done, so it's a new experience. It's quite hard on the arms a bit, especially on street circuits, but I got through it, and that's the main thing. And to come away with a win, I can't think of anything better.
What about the tires? What about the race car near the end there? Was it slippery, or were you just have a lot of grip?
Yeah, it was quite slippery, but the Cooper tires held up really well. I'm surprised at how good they were holding up for that length of time. So yeah, I was really, really pleased with it.
Congratulations. We'll see you at Long Beach.
Thank you.
There he is, Ed Jones, 2 times a winner here in Petersburg.
Yep, Jack Harvey finishes P2, then Pickett, Chilton, and Kaiser your top 5. Hargrove, Brabham, Serralles, Pedrahita, Anderson, Blackstock, Ringel, Anderson, the lone retiree. just completed 4 laps today before a mechanical issue sidelined him for the day. So congratulations to Ed Jones and Carlin Racing. They have sent a message that they are indeed here. Well, we'll have the whole gang together coming up at the top of the hour, 3 o'clock Eastern. Paul Page, Davey Hamilton will be in the booth. Yours truly and Jay Query out on the course. We'll have Kevin Lee, Dave First, and Nick Yeoman patrolling pit road as we get ready for the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. The network director is Wally Levitt. Indianapolis studio producer is Chris Pablo. Onside producer and engineer Rick Evans. Guys out on the course today, Jake Query and Nick Yeoman. Thanks to Rob Houghton for an outstanding job, as always, in the pits. Our driver analysts today were Zach Veach and Davey Hamilton. I'm Mark Janes. So long for now from the streets of St. Petersburg.
IndyCar Radio on the IMS Radio Network.
A.J. Foyt down the main straightaway. The checkered flag is out. A.J.'s hand in the air. He is the winner. A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race. A.J. Foyt, our winner. The flag will fly now for Tom Stava and then for Al Unser. We will be talking with all of these drivers in just a moment.
And we await A.J. Foyt along with a host of others, including Tony Holman, who is cheering as loudly as the crowd. We've seen what has never been seen before, beginning with a woman driving in the field this morning and A.J. finishing 4 up front at Indianapolis. Headed into now, A.J. Foyt, the Gleaming Gilmore 14 Coyote, the Gilmore Racing Team home, and he wins again.
There's the checkered flag for Mark Donahue, winner of the 1972 Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Oh my goodness, we have 10 cars in a pack headed for one Jerry.
Well, you talk about the crowd getting on their feet. They do. So far, so good. They are nose to tail, a little bit of room. There's about an 8-car pack in front of Gary Lee right now.
Yeah, and in that pack, second place and third place. Little Al has gotten around Jack Villeneuve. He's back up to second, and now 2 cars separate second and third. Mr. Excitement, that youngster, that second-generation driver. We're impressed with Jack Villeneuve, but right now he's dropped to third. And there's Al Unser Jr., and then finally Ray Hall. Jack Villeneuve goes on the outside. He goes high. You can't go too wide in the turns. They're doing it today.
They sure are coming through 4. Now they go single file. Maybe they got a little scared last time. Who knows? But going through 4 this time, everybody single. They come toward the main straightaway. Bob Jenkins.
That was just a breathtaking moment.